Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Welcome in to our remote viewing show this evening. My goodness, we have a beautiful full moon outside right now. Over here on the East Coast, we are under the Hunter's moon tonight. A super moon, super full moon tonight. And my gosh, it is gorgeous right now. So you guys are hanging out with the Cryptid Huntress under the Hunter's moon tonight. How about that, y'all? And we're going to go hunting tonight in the ethers. Okay, we're going to go hunting tonight in the ethers. Barry Littleton gave me a fantastic target tonight. My goodness. We just kind of we've not gone over this in person yet. So you guys are going to be watching Barry and I discussing the data firsthand. I mean, he has the data. We've talked about it a little bit, but like we're going to be discussing it like live tonight, pretty much for the first time. I have remote viewed the lights. There are bright lights on a dwarf planet called Ceres or Ceres. Ceres. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Okay. And these lights are anomalous. Okay. I think they were discovered back in like 2015 with a probe. Okay. And that NASA had sent out some kind of satellite system. It was taking pictures. There's all these lights all over this dwarf planet. Okay. It used to be an asteroid. Now they're considering it a dwarf planet. Some people say that there's alien life on this planet or human life, like human civilization there. And we have a good friend. Barry and I have a pretty good friend named Tony Rodriguez, who has written a book about Ceres. Okay, so he remembers life there. And I tell you all what, this data is wild. So we're going to get into that today. I cannot wait to get into this one. This is going to be a really fantastic target, really good data, and a great show. So thank you all for being here. This is historical tonight. This is going to be a historical target. So if y'all would like to follow along with all of my shows, please go over to my website and check out all of my shows there. You can do I was going to say, get your updates on whatever I've been up to over there. And if you missed a show, either go to my YouTube channel or my Rumble. They're up to date on Rumble. My Spotify, all of my Spreaker, what do you call them, podcasts? Those are all out too. I'm trying to keep things up to date on all those platforms right now. So you can find all of my shows at any of those platforms. Okay. And I'm streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. All right. So y'all can find me over there. Lots of shows. If you would like to follow along with the data tonight, it's all in my Patreon. I have a ton of pictures up in there. Every angle of these lights that I could possibly find. And just multiple lights. You can see where they've moved and changed and blinked and all that kind of stuff. They're all in my Patreon. I'm going to be showing some of those pictures here tonight with these lights on Ceres. Okay. So, go to my Patreon. You guys become a member. Thank you to all of my members who are currently members. I do appreciate it very much. The data is there. And also, I do have a shop called War Woman Goods. It's all on sale. The whole shop is on sale, y'all. So if you do buy anything out of my shop, please make a note that you watch my shows, and I will send you some Cryptid Huntress merch with every purchase. With every package that goes out, gets some Cryptid Huntress merch, especially if I know you're one of my viewers. Okay, so thank you guys so much for your support. Before I bring Barry up, y'all be sure to go to his YouTube channel as well and his Patreon, and give him a follow, a like, a share, a subscribe, all that as well. All right, let's get to our show, because gosh, we've got a lot to go over tonight. This is going to blow y'all's minds. It really is. It blew my mind when I found out what the target was. It took a while for Barry to tell me too, because he kept wanting me to like analyze it for him, give him a summary. And I was like, God, you're going to hear what I had to say about it. Ceres, the largest asteroid, now known as the dwarf planet, was discovered in 1801 and named after the Roman goddess of harvest, Ceres. It is said to be the largest object in an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, which caused a stir in 2015 after NASA's Dawn spacecraft sent home an image that showed two very bright spots inside a large crater on the dwarf planet. Many claim that those lights could be an alien civilization residing on the planet, and some scientists report that the lights are most likely the result of hydrated magnesium sulfates mixed with dark background material, or even highly reflective ice. The bright spots have been a source of a wide range of theories, and it's been noted that the earliest images seem to show the spots maintaining their brightness from many viewing angles, suggesting that the light source is internal rather than reflected. So what exactly is the source of these lights on Ceres? Barry did give me a set of coordinates this week, and I just found out what the target was last night. Okay, Barry did a reveal on Facebook, as he usually does. And so I found out at the same time a lot of y'all did what this target is. And Barry Littleton is a fantastic researcher. He's a good friend of mine. We met back during Camp Disclosure about I guess it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know. It's been a long time. And we share a common bond in wanting to learn more about the mysteries of this world. And Barry and I do a lot of work together when it comes to these remote viewing targets, especially. Please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jesse? What's happening? Thanks for having me on and for doing the target. And I want to give a special thanks to your audience. You know, I went through a little period where I just got tired of the BS from people that are fools or dark forces. They're involved in that or being used by them. And I just got a little aggressive there for a little bit. And I was like, man, I'm just tired of doing all this. But a lot of people in your audience have been very supportive, and a lot of other people too. So I just want to say thank you. You know, it's good because this whole work and this stuff is not easy. You know what I mean? It comes with a lot of persecution, a lot of negativity. But when you stay on the truth path, somebody has to talk truth and stay with the real. So appreciate you doing that.
Hey, we the realist over here. What's realist of the real on this channel? Yeah, we're no BS to the point. Well, we're to the point, but we like to take detours as well. And yeah, it's always a good time though, especially when you come on. We have a good time, and this target blew me away because it's really wild. First of all, let's kind of tell the audience. Let's talk about what the target is before we get into like me remote viewing it. Okay, because you have a big interest in outer space and all the planets and the dwarf planets and everything. That's how when I met you, that was your thing. You know, I learned so much from you, and you've given me so many great targets that involve even dwarf planets, right? Where we're finding life on other planets, you and I. Okay, and I think this one is no different.
Yeah. You know what? Excuse me. It's allergy season. I've been suffering. A lot of people around here are. At least after they cut that wheat. Oh man. Anyway, what caught my attention was, around 2000. This was always classified as like an asteroid until around 2006. I think NASA and everybody started categorizing it as a dwarf planet. And then they found later they had that NASA sent that satellite. It was satellite Drew, I think it was called. Satellite Drew that they sent there. And yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna show it to you real quick. Hold on if I can find it. Drew. Dawn. It's called Dawn.
Dawn. DAWN. Thank you. Sorry. I apologize for that. Oh Lord. I hate being wrong on that. Yeah, it was Dawn. And Dawn, caught like pictures of what looked like pyramidal structures, eroded pyramidal structures. And of course, people are going to just explain it as natural formations and things like that. So that's one thing. And also there's water on there, but technically it would be ice, because something we got to keep in mind is that this Ceres is not in the habitable zone at all. So it is about that would be a frozen ocean that would go down. Would be about the temperature I think that would be during the day would be like 225 Fahrenheit, and something like going into 300s at night or something like that. Much more at night,
Mhm.
up to 350 or something. If people can look that up, but I mean that's intense coldness there, and when it comes to life and things, but based on the data that you've got, I would say maybe we incorporate things like what our friend Jock Doubleday talks about, which is natural bioterraforming, and I think that's what we're dealing with there. Anyway, point being, satellite Dawn had saw these lights in one of these mesas in the back of Ceres, or on the side of Ceres, where it is, but it was like unexplainable. First, they tried to explain it as ice and, like you said, methane, all these other things, but that didn't really hold up scientifically. And to be honest, Jessica, I kind of didn't pay as much attention to this even in 2006 because I was more obsessed with the dwarf planets that are outside Pluto, the trans-Neptunian objects, because that connected more to my experience. So I thought there was more going on there, and I just didn't really pay much attention to Ceres. And I always still just thought in the back of my mind, it's an asteroid, but it's not. And they're finding out different. So anyway, but when dealing with terraforming and things, I think it changes the whole deal. And I have to be honest, I never lied to you. I've not actually read Tony's book, so I don't. But I know that he's got one called Serious Colony, and him and I are real cool. We talked about several things, and I think you invited him to come on. I wish he would have came. It would have been cool to have him on here.
Well, I did shoot him a message. Yeah, I shot him a message today because I just found out what this target was late last night. And so I didn't even think about it until this afternoon, and I shot him a message, and I also sent him a link to the show. So he'll definitely watch this at some point. So what's up, Tony? Okay. And but I sent him a message. I put it on Messenger. I didn't want to bug him on his text, so I sent it to his Messenger. This is Tony. Tony has been on my show before on Spaced Out Radio. He came on, and I've ran into Tony a couple times. He's a good dude, man. He's a friend. I do consider Tony a friend, and so do you.
Yeah, I know. He's a couple clients. He's cool.
Oh yeah.
I've spoken at a few conferences with him now, and always good conversation. He's a good cat.
Oh yeah.
And he's got, I think, more technical evidence than about anybody else that says they're affiliated with those programs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's got some amazing information, a heart-wrenching, encounter, a story, his memories that have come back. This book is called Ceres Colony Cavalier. He has another, the Star Maker book. I can't remember the exact name of it. His story is pretty amazing, and I highly recommend you guys getting his book and reading it. And I have read parts of his book. Okay, I have read parts of his book, and the part about Ceres. Okay, and I've seen his presentation in person. Okay, we've seen his presentations in person, and I do remember him being on Ceres. That was when he was kind of grown. I think he was like in his later years, in those 20s, in the 20 years he was gone, and I remember he talked about it. It was almost like he was kind of like a slave. I remember him having to wear a collar or something. He wasn't free, okay, but he described it as though it was like there were corporations there, there were cities. I mean, it was like a regular civilization like we have here on Earth, but mixed with alien life. Okay, like alien life. I remember he even talking about a strip club or something over there on that colony. Okay,
strippers, I know so we got some extra ET strippers, eh? Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yes, that's in the book. Okay. Lots of, I mean, I only say that because it was very much like Earth. Okay. And what else was very much like Earth that I remote viewed for you? TRAPPIST-1, right? TRAPPIST-1. And also the dwarf planets where they had alien civilizations there as well. Maki or Make. And
make.
Yeah.
Another one, and one that I almost forget about, and it's one that we might revisit, It was Proximia B in the Centauri Alpha, Alpha Centauri. It's one of the planets in the habitable zone. And, and I had you look at that because Dr. Delbert Blair, those that are familiar with that man, rest his soul, very, very genius. He had a contact experience at a conference from two melanated gentlemen that said they were from Alpha Centauri. They're highly telepathic, and they approached him in a conference. Yeah, so I believe I gave you that as a blind target, and you saw a civilization there too, I do believe.
Yeah.
Always
It's
good
wild.
food for thought.
Yeah, it is. Really good food for thought, and it's mind-blowing as well. Okay. It's pretty mind-blowing because when I'm doing these targets, I'm seeing not to get into the data yet. We'll say the data for just a minute, but I'm a lot of times I feel like I'm on Earth. Okay, it's like I'm on Earth in a lot of these targets. It's hard to tell the difference. When I'm remote viewing something like this. So
that's really cool, honestly, and always it always shocks me because on this one, for all I know, you was gonna get, man, it's just a bunch of ice, man, a bunch of frozen stuff, but that isn't what you got at all, and it's always very, very interesting, like that blows me, like TRAPPIST 1, what you saw there, you thought you were in, you said, is this the future? I don't recognize the high rises. You kept talking about the high rises. And, and it reminds me a lot of Ingo Swann in his movie, the book Penetration, where he talked about that. His first thing he was looking at, he thought it was some city in Nevada, especially with the kind of dirt. And it was the moon, turns out, So,
I can appreciate that because, I am actually trained in the modes of remote viewing that Ingo Swann is, I don't want to say responsible for, but it might be. I don't know. It's the Ingo Swann methods of remote viewing, like I do, where, there are different types of remote viewing. Okay. And depending on who you're talking to, it's like, well, a lot of people say, well, you have to have a known target. Like you have to know what it is. You have to know what it is. Well, Ingo Swann, how would anybody know exactly what was on the moon? You know what I mean? That's the kind of remote viewing that I enjoy doing right there. I mean, I do all different types of remote viewing, different modes as well. But
what are the modes, Jessica? What are the modes?
Well, the mode that I use the most is coordinate remote viewing. Okay, that's the one that I use the most. We can also do energetic remote viewing as well. There's like 5 different modes. Okay, there's HRV, ERV, CRV. Okay, I don't know. One of the modes that I do is it's kind of it's like hypnotic remote viewing. We call it energetic remote viewing, and where you actually have to go. You're kind of dancing on the edge of sleeping. You have to get into theta. Okay, so you have to lay back and imagine being an entire room full of people trying to do that. When we were learning, we had mats and pillows and soft stuff. We all laid on the floor, and you knew that we were getting deep into theta when everybody started snoring.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, I mean, and when I say we have to get, you're into hypnosis, what's up, and we're basically hypnotizing ourselves. Okay, in a way, to be able to do that astral traveling kind of stuff there. But it's not like we're sitting there writing down and having charts and stuff like I do with coordinate remote viewing. It's more of an experience there, and we're, it's hypnotic.
It's like psychoenergetics. Yes. Which is becoming a big thing now. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's cool you talk about stuff like that because what I want to say is a lot of the people that call themselves remote viewers do not describe and have done anything like what you just said there. It's just worth mentioning that because I've seen some photo books and some other things. It's like, man, that's the astral vision. That's not some, it's interesting. That's also, it's cool when you talk about stuff like that because it's intense and it shows a lot of training and a lot of things that people don't know, like me. You know what I mean? I know some, but not everything, so it's pretty cool.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it because I've noticed too, and especially lately, there's a lot of remote viewers. But yet, if there's not a whole lot of people now. Tony does remote viewing too, and he knows what the real remote viewing is too. Okay, so I can appreciate Tony, and he has a Patreon. So you guys go check him out if you get a chance. over on Patreon. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm not gonna say it chaps my hide. Okay, it doesn't. But I've done a lot of training in it, you know, so it's just like, oh man, that's not the same kind of remote viewing I do. Okay. That a lot of people do. But anyways, that's besides the point. T-Bone, thank you so much for those gifted memberships. I appreciate that. And welcome back to the Cryptid Hunters channel. I hadn't seen you
Just
in a
throw
minute.
this out too, man.
Thank you.
A bunch of targets. This is our 68th remote viewing show.
Yeah.
68th. So and you've done a ton that have nothing to do with me, not even involving me. So that's and before you even started going public, that's a lot of targets. I don't think you get credit for that at all. But that's just something I just bring up sometimes, especially other people. Anyway, back to, I know we get to the data or whatever you want to talk about before the data. Sorry, I don't want to detour us here.
Okay, well, I did want to point out, first of all, Donna, thank you for becoming a member of the channel too. I appreciate that. Welcome in. Okay, so I actually have the exact temperature that this dwarf planet is. It says that it is actually negative 136 degrees to negative 28 degrees Fahrenheit there. That's cold. Okay, that's cold. So if there is human life on this planet, it would have to be underground, I would think, right?
Yeah, you sure that's not Celsius?
It says Fahrenheit. It says Fahrenheit.
I heard it's 200 something Fahrenheit. It could be at night though, because it falls at night.
But that says daytime surface. The daytime temperature is 136. It's negative minus 136 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cold. No matter what, it's cold. Okay, it's super cold. It's too cold. I wouldn't want to live there. Okay, I wouldn't want to. But a lot of people, apparently, according to especially Tony's testimony, is that it's they don't want to be there. It's like slavery kind of going on there. Now I do remember also what Tony said, not to give his experience away without him being here. I remember them speaking German. Okay, it was like a German settlement or something. Okay, now I don't know if you remember that or not, but I do believe it was German speaking people there, which is really odd, right? But they have like shopping centers and places to live, like apartments and houses and all that. They're on, what is this place called? Ceres, right? How do you pronounce that? Ceres?
Ceres, yeah.
Ceres.
It kind of, when you say that German, that kind of makes you automatically think about the missing 411, doesn't it? A lot of those people that disappear are of German descent. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't remember exactly which clusters, but a lot of them are of German descent, he says.
And a lot of them are physicists too. So when we did that target, they were actually, the data was saying that people were being kidnapped, they were being taken underground and disposed of. Well, what if they're being disposed of as like slaves on other planets? That could be what they are. Okay, well let's stay on Ceres right now, because my mind is going 100 miles an hour right now.
That's cool, man. I can dig that.
Yeah.
I have that problem frequently, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard to induce inner silence sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I actually, because I like I told the audience before I brought you up today, before I brought you up on the screen, we haven't discussed this. We haven't discussed this face to face yet. We were just kind of texting back and forth a little bit since last night and today, and so we're kind of hashing this out here live on air. Okay, so
yeah,
you're gonna see our thought processes, everybody, as we're going here, and I can appreciate
the
that.
live audience, just like the Jeffersons.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know we need some laugh tracks to play. Okay, we do.
Wow.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot about the Dark Fleet. Okay, and or speak German reptilian. I've seen a couple people write things like that in the chat. Not Waffen. I've heard Not Waffen from was it Daryl James has talked about Not Waffen in his testimony.
Educate me. I'm not an SSP guy, so
I'm not either.
Me. What is Waffen? What is
Not
that?
Waffen. I don't know. It's German, some kind of German. So I'm not sure. Maybe somebody in the chat can let us know.
Settlement, or is that a I'm interested to know. What is it?
I think it's a group. Okay, it's like a it's some kind of like unit, okay, with a secret space program, and I think they're German based. Don't quote me on that. Okay, don't quote me on that. But we are dealing with the secret space program here, potentially. But yeah, I mean, maybe let's just get into kind of the data if you want. I mean, I have a lot of pictures to show, because you were wondering, you gave me the bright lights of Ceres as the target. Okay, what are these bright lights?
Those lights were your target, yes.
The lights were the target. Okay, now I want to show the audience.
Inside the lights. Yeah.
Yeah, what is the cause of these lights? What's behind it? Is it ice? Okay, is it ice? That's a good question, right? Now this is actually inside of a crater.
Oh, you've got some cool pictures for this one. I just want to say that.
Oh yeah, hey, look, I went digging today. Okay, I really went digging today, because that's what it looks like from afar. And let's see, this is it from far away, and that's pretty bright. All right, now I actually have some pictures of the Earth from the International Space Station. Okay, and because I wanted to show you kind of what it looks like on Earth with our lights. Okay, and I know that's a little bit closer than that planet, but this is with artificial lighting on our planet. I think that's Italy. Okay, so you can see the lights on that's Italy, supposed to be. And this is just another picture from the International Space Station right there. So you can see that's what artificial lighting looks like, and big cities look like, towns, cities, whatever. That's what it looks like from up high. Okay, it looks like that. And here's even a light from the middle of a hurricane or a cyclone. Okay, that's like from the eye. You can see light from a city underneath there.
Oh wow! All
right. So I just wanted to establish what it looks like on Earth with those artificial lights in the cities compared to Ceres. Okay, because
technically, if we had something that was like excuse me, a biodome. And I've been on board a craft that had something like a biodome inside of it. But when you start dealing with the luminosity that might come off something like that, a structure like that,
Okay.
An entire city inside of a biodome.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Well, okay. So then NASA sent out this Dawn probe. Okay. And it looks something like that. And this was, I don't know if it left Earth in like 2014. At 2015, it made it out to down to Ceres. Okay, it went to go take pictures. There are a ton of pictures. All these pictures actually came from this probe, and NASA was releasing these pictures. Now, this picture, I believe, they called it false lighting, where they ramped up the filter. They put a filter on it, I think is what that means. And so they could see the lights a little brighter. Now that's obviously in a crater. All right. These are the lights again. Now that's a super extreme close up. That looks like more than ice. Okay, and that big old crater right there. This is what they say it looks like up close. Okay, now I don't know. That is a picture that is supposed to be an extremely up close and personal view of those lights. Now that actually looks like ice. All right. Now
I agree. I agree with you 100%, but I would say something. Isn't that just a bit convenient?
It is.
Very, very convenient.
That's what I was saying. Okay, that's
what I was saying. A bit of a coincidence. And there's a saying that coincidence is a term used by fools and liars. So I can't say that I particularly buy that one. This one was nice. What Richard Hoagland would say about that. What he says about this, actually, I need to try to look that up and see what he's talking about when it comes to Ceres.
Okay, well, there's never a straight answer. That's the acronym, right? And yeah, it just seems very convenient that this picture would come up. And yeah, Darcy, that's right. What NASA says and what my data says are a little different. Now, this is for entertainment purposes only. Okay. I do have to state that once again. Every show, I'm having to state that now. Okay, because
just go ahead and say it too. Unalived.
Unalived. I know, right? People are getting tired of hearing that. I know. Well, we just got to be careful. Got to be careful these days.
Well,
But this,
coming here and mess everything up. This is serious. This is real. Get everybody in trouble. No, it's just entertainment.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Just
entertainment.
entertainment. Right.
Anyway,
Well, there's.
So is that? Do you have a close up of both of those lights, or is that just because there's like two of them, right? So.
Yeah, it's okay. So there's actually two different sections that have lights. There's the one in the middle right here that we're looking at right now, and then there's some other little patches of lights on the eastern side of the planet. Okay, so there's other lights. This is not the only concentration of lights. There are actually more lights across. Now, this is just the biggest one. So there are more lights. This is just the one you can see. They said there's actually one on the dark side over there to the right. Okay, but we're calling these mystery lights. And again, here's the crater up close. And I don't know how big of a space that is. I don't know how many miles that's supposed to be. Oh, it says the biggest bright area about 6 miles across and 0.3 miles deep. Okay, a third of a mile deep. It's the center of a crater called Occator, Occator, and it's 60 miles in diameter. Okay, 60 miles in diameter. It says Occator appears to be amongst the youngest features on Ceres at a mere 78 million years old. It says that the studies found some images appears to show a diffuse haze near the surface that fills the floor of the crater. It may be associated with observations of water vapor at Ceres by the Herschel Space Observatory that was reported in 2014. The haze seems to be present in views during noon local time and absent at dawn and dusk. Authorities write. So this haze comes and goes. It suggests the phenomenon resembles the activity at the surface of a comet with water vapor lifting tiny particles of dust and residue. The study shows that the daytime surface temperatures span from minus 136 degrees to minus 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And the maximum temperatures were measured in the equatorial region, so in the middle of the planet. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's actually something else that's really interesting about this too. And I don't know if we want to talk about it now or not, because it doesn't have anything to do with the lights. But a face has been observed on the planet, and they say it looks like Jesus.
I've not heard about this. So do you
want to go ahead and talk about it now?
Go ahead. Yeah, I've not heard about that at all. So please.
Okay, so y'all. Okay, so
all the information you got on this one. That's cool.
Okay, so the Shroud of Turin, right? Or Turin. I think I say Turin. I also say Vienna instead of Vienna. Okay, so please excuse my southern slang here. Okay, they say that this. Okay, some people claim that this looks like the shroud, the Turin of Jesus, the Shroud of Turin. Okay, and that Jesus was wrapped up in at his death. Okay, and so some people say that's Jesus. Okay, now I don't know, Barry. I see you holding your face.
No, go ahead, keep talking. Please keep going. I mean, like I said, I've not heard about this.
Okay, so I don't know. We'll see what the Brown Dwarf said. Oh Lord. That's funny. Yeah. Okay. So, but this is the thing. Okay. This is the thing. And people are like, this is, they're really studying this. Okay. Okay. So,
okay.
Jesus.
You know what that looks like to me? That looks like that picture that came out in the 90s. And about the mid to late 90s, it's a picture you can look at it. And it looked like it's a blank piece of paper. And then when you look at a wall, you see this face of Jesus on there. And it looks just like both these things we're looking at right here. That immediately comes to my mind. So, I mean, I don't want to seem like the skeptic brother, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm all ears.
Okay. All right. Well, it's just interesting. I mean, I could not bring this up tonight because this is a thing. Okay. And people are talking about it. It said that, there's some this has fascinated some astronomers. Okay, so some astronomers are going looking at this. That's
the Jesus rock.
Huh? Yeah,
or
the Jesus.
Lights?
Yes, okay. Jesus, the Jesus rock. Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to find let me find the important part of this. I should have bolded it. Okay. Well, I can't find it. Okay, this is gonna take too long for me to find it because I forgot to highlight it, y'all. I'm so sorry. I have like 2 pages of packed data on this. I did get some good information out of this, though. Let's just bring it to the forefront that there is what people believe to be Jesus or a statue or some kind of face, just like the face on Mars. Okay, but they believe it looks like Jesus. Okay, so I don't know. It's up to y'all if y'all think that or not. Okay. Use your own discernment. Okay. I did want to point this out though. A NASA spokesperson said that Ceres has more than 130 bright areas. Most of them are associated with impact craters. Barry, 130. Okay. So we've got that one. Okay. The one that we're looking at, this was my target for my remote viewing data for my session. There's 130 bright areas on this planet. Okay, 130, and that's a ton. Okay, so that actually, if you go back and you look at this picture with where they did the filter on it, I guess they put a filter on the lighting. You can see some more bright areas on there. Okay, you can if you look at that. Let's see if I have any more pictures here. I don't know if I have this one right here too. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in this picture. Okay, you can see some more light. The light blue areas, those are the lights. Okay, where it's a little bit lighter. You can kind of tell on this. That reminds me of Hypercolor. Do you remember Hypercolor t-shirts back in the 80s?
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of. Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyways, okay, let's get into the data. Okay, because this is mind-blowing because for a lot of reasons. So I actually did not do a long session on this because the data was out of control. Okay. It was out of control. From the minute I got into this target, it was a full-blown like alien war or something. And I was seeing little green men. I was seeing fighting. I wrote down mag dump. Okay, like I don't know, people who own weapons, you'll know what a mag dump is. All right, that's like where you take a magazine full of bullets. Let's just say you have like an AR or something. You've got like all your 5.56, 2.23. You got a full magazine loaded up. You unleash every single bullet in that magazine at one time. Okay, that's crazy, right? But that's what I was getting in this data. Okay, and I mean, I literally wrote down little green men in this. I was picking up on, okay, do you want me to just tell the audience what I told you as a summary for this target when you asked me?
After you said what the hell is this, Barry? That's what you said. What the hell is this?
I did. I said, what the hell kind of target? I said, what the hell kind of target is this? LOL. Yeah, I was completely just weirded out by all of it because it was like I've never had a target like this one. I don't remember having a target like that. It was action packed, but I said, okay, you said, no, what do you think it was? Because you were kind of blown away, I think, too, because you were like, what the hell? I said, I think it is it's alien abductions. There's alien abductions with military personnel involved. And fighting. There's weapons, shooting, but some sort of like there's extraterrestrial alien, possibly abductions with military personnel involvement. Okay, that was what I thought the target was. After all this data, I even wrote Calvary. Okay, now what is Tony's book's name called? It's called Ceres Colony Cavalier. I wrote Calvary down in this data. All right. I'm just saying, this is wild, right? Okay. So I picked up some of my sensory data for this was green. That's right. And I immediately wrote little green men.
Yeah, that one there. I was like, are you serious? Yeah. I mean, that's not even the right word to use with that, but I mean, just terms of that one, you had a few things like that on there. Anyway, I'm sorry. Please keep going. Then, yeah, those little things like that. Okay, that's,
Yes. Okay, so I wrote, okay, so my sensor data was like green, and I wrote like, I kept seeing green beings. I wrote green being at first. I didn't write green bean, being, B-E-I-N-G, green being, and I wrote little green men. I was seeing a lot of movement, and I wrote moving, something that was small, but that was like little green men. Okay. I got thrown. So I was getting the sensory, like the sense of being thrown, and I wrote blacked out. So I was thrown, and then I blacked out. And then I was getting a choppy picture. So I felt like I was drugged, and I kept feeling like this whole target, I felt like I was being drugged. Okay. And I literally felt like I was being drugged. I wrote choppy picture, choppy water, Calvary. Okay. And that's wild because Tony's book is called Ceres Colony Cavalier. And I wrote Calvary. Okay. And I wrote dumped. That's when I got done. I wrote dumped out, and I wrote mag dump, because what I was seeing, I was like, I felt like I was drugged. I was seeing little green men, and then I was seeing a lot of gunfire.
Why do you think that was? Why do you think you were feeling like you were drugged? What do you think that was an effect
I don't know. It was just part of the set. It was part of the session. I don't know. I literally felt like I was being drugged because okay. So here's the thing. So I kept feeling like, like when you close your eyes, and you open them, and it's like a strobe light. Like I was seeing that, like I kept opening my eyes and closing them, but I wasn't closing my eyes, but that was the sensation I was getting, was that it was like choppy, like a strobe light was going off. Like I was on the dance floor. Okay. Like I wasn't dancing. Okay. But it's like when you're on the dance floor and the strobe light's going, and you can only see like every half second, like you can't see like fluid movement. You're seeing like like that. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
To me, it sounds like something to design a technology to stop you from looking at it. It sounds like to me, but please keep going. I mean, the way that's what automatically I start picking up as you said that, like something to scatter your ability to see, kind of like what they do in the disco to a certain degree. Well, not disco anymore. Sorry, dance floor.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Okay. Let's get on to the data. Okay. So I wrote dumped out and mag dump. Okay. And so I'm in this session, and I'm feeling like I'm drugged. I'm kind of like seeing things choppy. It was like choppy vision. And then I'm hearing gunfire. I'm seeing guns. I'm seeing gunfire. There's little green men involved. Okay. And then I see okay. I wrote down water and water source. Okay. Because there was something electric. Okay. When I was having that strobe light sensation, that strobe sensation, I wrote electric, because I was seeing like lightning bolts. It felt like lightning bolts. It was like strobes and lightning bolts. Okay. Like going off, like lightning strikes or something going off around me. And I wrote misunderstood. I started getting really sad. Okay. I got really sad during this is all in the first page of my data. Okay. Got really sad, but I was seeing the water source. I wrote down water and water source. Something that was very misunderstood, or I was misunderstood. I wrote misunderstood. And then I started picking up on, like, because I got sad and it was like tired. And then I picked up on neglected, loner and neglected. And so I was picking up on data that was about like being all by myself and all alone. There was nobody there with me. It was very, very sad, like solitary. Okay, let's just say. And then I started picking up on like Egyptian, like an Egyptian symbol. I wrote the Ankh down, and the Ankh actually is my drawing for my stage 3. I drew something that looks like the Ankh. I mean, it could be a person, it could be anything, but to me, it looked like an Egyptian Ankh. And I actually wrote that down. And then I wrote down surrender. Okay, so it's almost like I went through this whole process of like little green men getting shot at, and like seeing people fighting, and then
not good. You had not good on there.
Well, not good was my last bit of data, because I had to leave. I had to get out of that target because I was somewhere where I didn't need to be. Okay. I knew that I wasn't supposed to be there. There was something wrong. I got a horrible feeling, and I got out. I closed the session down. That's why I don't have as much data as I normally would. I mean, that's a lot of data though. That's just the first page. It packed a punch, but it was, I didn't keep going because I knew I wasn't supposed to be there, and I don't know what these targets are. And I felt like I was off planet, and that's very dangerous. Okay. So, I was dealing with little green men and dumps, dude. I had to get out of this. All right. So I know, right? I know. I need to.
It's
I've
a
got to start
serious
like taking
subject, though. You're not
clips from my
supposed to be
shows, man.
laughing, man.
I know. I'm gonna have to start taking like clips from my shows. That would be a great clip right there. That'd be a great clip. Okay. But anyways, okay. So the next page. So this is my stage 4 data. I think, yeah, Scott, there's something probably headed towards Earth right now. I've heard about that too. Yeah, and I was being observed. I know I was, for sure. Okay, so I wrote something very interesting because I wrote the Druids down. The Druids is in my data, and then but then I wrote down, because I wrote Druids, and then I heard fluids. So I was like, this started dealing with like, I mean, I was picking up on like body fluids and stuff. It was weird. Now it could have been blood or something. I don't know, but there were some kind of fluids, but it was very malevolent. I wrote malevolent, not is malevolent is what I wrote down. And then I started getting into the drug part again. I felt like I was being drugged again. And I wrote down, because I was seeing hazy. Everything was hazy. I got dizzy. I was tired. And then I wrote down, this is so wild, Barry. I wrote down whips and chains and hidden. I wrote down dungeon. I wrote down dark underground, bunker, and cavern. And that's when I knew there was something really wrong, and I had to get out of there. Okay, and I was seeing blood, and I wrote down not good, and I heard get out, and I wrote down out, and I got out immediately. So this was a freaking weird target, Barry. It was so weird, and there was just so much, from aliens or little green men to guns and fighting, and I just felt like it was some kind of like military thing. Okay, like I couldn't get over it. Like it was some, and I don't mean like the U.S. military. It could have been anything. It was some kind of there was some kind of operation going on, though, is what I felt like. Some kind of agency. I don't know.
Did you pick up any slavery like you did on TRAPPIST-1?
Yeah, I wrote down whips and chains and dizzy and tired. Yeah, whips and chains and like a dungeon. Like it was like torture.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, when you said that at first, my mind was going to Tony talking about strip place. I was like, that's a rough strip club, man. But I got you. You said your torture aspect. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, T-Buds, thank you.
That's really
Jess,
nice.
you always have the best
really
guest hosts. Barry, you're my favorite. Thank you, T-Buds.
Well, thank you. That's really nice. Thank you. Like that name too, T-Buds. It's cool.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. What do you think about all that, Barry? I mean, that's a lot, which is supposed to be a patch of ice. Okay. Is this shocking or no?
You know, I got to use one of my movie references, Flash Gordon, when he's in that tree house with the bear, and he's got to stick his hand down that thing. When he gets up there, they said, "Man, where do you think you are?" He looked at him, "Up the creek." That's where I think we are, is up the creek. This is, I mean, it confirms so much of what Tony said, and I can't wait to see what his, his thoughts on this are. But I mean, you're describing what he has, but I mean, again, it's this problem. And it concerns me, because you hear people like, some people talk like, I think it's Robert Tompkins was his name. We talked about this before in the other shows, but he had said that how, there's a problem with slavery in this galaxy, in the Milky Way. It's a problem with it here with certain factions, as to where other galaxies it is not. And, I can believe that to a degree, saying that the Milky Way is very primitive to a degree. And look, we've had these rebellions and things that go towards our galactic center, and that this cursed book here, not cursed, this book here, The Urantia, talks a lot about that. And like I said, I get away from some of this because it's so religious indoctrined. But by the same token, when you start talking about some of these forces that are non-corporeal, that are in, dealing with other galaxies, other dimensions, and when you start going out there, these places, you start interacting with other dimensions. We don't fully understand really what dimension, space, and time, and space motive force truly is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say something like that, like sometimes I go back, I don't want to take us off too much, but I go back to almost ancient, the way they thought of things before everybody was obsessed with AI. They thought about consciousness, and they did things in terms of awareness and things in terms of consciousness. And in that way, we have, I'm going to probably do a live on this, maybe tomorrow or the next day or something, but it's going to be about, we have a twin world. This is a twin world. We have, and it's so interesting to say there's third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth, but people really don't know what that is. Unless you're a scientist or a physicist, you can't break down to me what each of the dimensions are. You can say what the third is, which is right here, for the most part, all right? But we start dealing with this being a twin world, meaning that we have a world here that is filled with beings that have awareness and no organisms. And we have here where we have awareness with organisms. Thus, the world of inorganic beings is right here with us, very thin between us. And some of them are like our first cousins. They can manipulate us. They know everything about us. And don't kid yourself. Some of these inorganic beings have very sharp awareness, sharp perfection or perception that makes us look like we're in kindergarten, okay? Keep it at 100. And we have different fields. We have different beings that jump in our field of awareness in this other world, this other part of Earth all the time. Some of us can see some of these beings, some of us can't. We think about spaceships always landing and stuff like that, and creatures getting out of the ship. Even for me, some that don't have bodies, yada yada yada. But when in fact is, you have a whole nother realm that you have beings from all over the cosmos that are landing here, beings with sharp perception. Some of which are predators that feed on our luminous cocoon. But let's go back to Ceres and keep talking about that. I go way too left all the time, and I'm starting to go left. Let's go back right, or that's not even a good word to use right now during election time. But let's stay in the infield. Sorry.
Man,
but everything about what you're saying confirms what Tony's is saying. And I got to go back to that. That's only what I heard him talk about during the lectures. I've not read the book. So, I can only imagine how much deeper it gets concerning what you're saying. And I'm sorry that it was a kind of a dangerous target. I try not to send dangerous stuff. But
okay, well, I want to talk about some of the things that Tony did mention about Ceres, himself. He said, I remember him saying that salt, they had like salt deposits there, right? Well, I think he was saying that before NASA came out and said there were salt deposits there. Okay. Now, I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he did. That he was actually talking about that before it ever became public. Also, there are different types of extraterrestrials there too, and I do believe he had some sort of an encounter with a feline extraterrestrial. Now, where have we heard that from before? With another target you gave me. Okay, the Cryptid containment facility. I made contact with a feline extraterrestrial when I was remote viewing. So apparently they have those at Ceres as well. So according to Tony's testimony, okay, so yeah, there's a lot going on there, but I don't know. This is not just a reflection on Iceberry, according to the data. But it's not. So yeah, another habitable planet where there are humans. How many does that make now? We need to do a tally. Okay, we should do a tally. For entertainment purposes only.
How many different species did you see? So you saw cat beings, felines?
No, I didn't see cat beings there. No, I didn't see cat beings there. Okay, what I was picking up on, that was in his testimony. Okay, what I'm picking up on in the data are little green men. So I wrote down a green being. I was seeing a being. Now they were humanoid. Okay, they look like little aliens. Okay, little aliens. But I was also picking up on like human military style people that were there as well. So humans and extraterrestrials or something. Because I wrote little green men. Little green men are usually aliens, I guess. I didn't write aliens. I just wrote little green men. So to me, that could be anything. I mean,
It's kind of like saying the moon is made of green cheese. You remember
a green cheese could be. It is made of cheese. You didn't know? That's why they don't want us remote viewing it. I'm just kidding.
Would it be Kraft or Colby?
Oh man, it's Velveeta. It's Velveeta. It's real salty up there. I don't know. They get salty when you try to talk about it. That's for sure.
I find it's too bad that there is such an assault on humanity, both from the inorganic predators that I just mentioned, which is really our biggest threat. Okay, they're the ones because they've given us their mind, which is why man should be, capable of great feats of perception. And we're not. We should be magical beings, and yet we're not. We're very much kept as like cattle at a very low carnal type of level, with some technology. But that's and then we've got on top of that, we've got humanoid type factions that are into slavery.
Yeah.
And we can see that is what rules here on Earth, that whole thing. I hate to say that, but let's be honest. This is not a positive place here.
No.
It's very dangerous here, and it's very. I'll quote my brother. It's very hellish like here.
Yeah.
And it can change, and I'm hoping that's what's happening now. But it's like, man, but everything. I mean, I'm sorry, but I like Tony a lot, but everything he's been through is mostly negative stuff. It's horrible. I remember when I first heard his testimony, because I didn't know at the conferences he had always spoke just before me, and I get too nervous before I speak to listen to the person in front of me or before me. So I didn't get to hear all of his story until the later conferences. But we sat there at the airport about 2 hours, about to fly out from Cocoa Beach just after COVID. And we talked, he told me his whole story. He's dropped some tears on me. It was horrible stories he was telling me, And so it wasn't the glamour stuff I hear other people saying when it comes to this SSP stuff. It was so horrible. I'm very grateful I've not had experiences like that.
I know, me too. It is heart-wrenching. Okay, hearing his testimony of all the memories and all the other guys that have been part of, and women too. Okay, women and men who've been parts of some of these secret programs. And yeah, I mean, I would say that this data would back up his testimony, okay, to a degree, because that target. Okay, this says a lot more than just ice. Okay, there's no ice. I do have water and a water source in the data, but I don't think that's a reflection of ice. There's like a civilization down there.
Wow, somebody said, I try not to glance over there, but somebody said Space Pirates. That was an old movie with the guy that played Vegas, Dan Tennant, Robert Urich, right? Robert Urich, and he's also Spencer for Hire. But there's a movie called Space Pirates, or is it Ice Pirates? But either way, they were in space. But it was just I could see why they said that, because it was kind of a situation like what you're describing in a way, with comedy though on that movie. But I do see why they say that. That's interesting. Sorry, I shouldn't look over there. Sorry.
It's okay. This is okay. No, this is a cool comment too, because I'm really interested in this. Urso says, remember those two little green kids that came out of a cave? One passed away and the girl lived. Yeah, I do know that. I'm familiar with it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. There were two children that came out of a cave. I think it was in Kentucky. I don't know if I'm wrong. I mean, it's somewhere. I thought it was in the South.
Did you do a show about that?
No, not yet, but I want to. I've been listening to.
I do remember what she's talking about, and there's another situation too. That was the guy that, man, where was it? Oh gosh, it wasn't Germany, it's somewhere else. But he had these two green individuals, and he said they looked almost kind of Asian descent, but they were little green guys, and they jumped on his wagon. He gave them a ride to town, and they were back there talking. And that is I've got that somewhere. I'll find the name of that. But it's kind of a somewhat famous case. These two green guys, he gave a ride to town, and like they were with a ship, and the ship had crashed or something. But it was quite a while ago. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that was the two green kids were in the UK. Okay, so it wasn't Kentucky. Listen, the Kentucky had the blue people. That's why I'm getting it confused. There's like the Kentucky Blue family. Okay, and the guy looked kind of like Papa Smurf a little bit, and I'm not making fun. Okay, but it's the guy did look like Papa Smurf. He had like white hair, and yeah, it was like a whole family. But they said that was from like an iron deficiency or copper in their water or something. I don't know what that was. It was some kind of metal. We've talked about it before here. Hey, Renee. Renee says bioluminescence too. So that's why I'm getting it confused. But yes, Dan's from the UK. We got several people from the UK here in the chat. They say it's from the two green children were in the United Kingdom, out in England. Came out of a cave. Little boy, little girl. They said I feel like they came from Inner Earth. Okay. So a whole other world where everybody's green.
Well, I mean, it gets so weird. According to that book there, you've got all sorts of races. Green was one of them. The green man, the blue man, I think they have purple men. There's all sorts of colors they have in here. I mean, it's very interesting when we start getting into that. But who knows what species this is you saw? It's very interesting.
I don't know. I saw a little green man. So, but I mean, that could be figurative or it could be literal. Okay. So what I was seeing is how I was interpreting it. It's called analytic overlay because I'm analyzing it with my brain. It doesn't mean that that's what it was. It's just like, that's how I was interpreting what I was seeing, little green men. So it could be like aliens or whatever. I don't know. It's all on how you interpret the data. So it shows remote viewing data, but it's pretty compelling because it lines up with some of the testimony of what this dwarf planet is and what's on it. So I don't know. I think it's a great target though, Barry. And I think that we're on our way to uncovering a lot of these mysteries of things that we hear about, but like there's nobody's talking about it. A lot of people aren't talking about it. There's no proof of it other than like the secret space program people who have been part of those programs, whether willingly or unwillingly, mostly unwillingly, with getting some of those people getting their memories back and talking about it, like Tony.
Mm-hmm. And I've had a number of clients now that have been affiliated with that. It may not be quote unquote SSP, but it's these agencies trying to come and taking them out of school, come and messing with their life. And normally they've been entered it by bloodline. They have it's normally for some reason always grandparents that were part of the military. And sometimes they might skip a generation and gets them or whatever the case is, or everybody,
or a stepdad,
or everybody's been manipulated. I've had that too. I've had a situation that was really, I did what, there's several different modalities of past life regression. One of them is informational. One of them is healing. One of them is life between lives. And it was one of those ones, life between lives, that I had done. And this individual starts describing when they go back into their last life, and then I'll take them back through to the death there. And then go into the place of translation, you and I talked about on here, and then reincarnating the next place. But in this situation there, on this other planet, where was it? Oh, goodness. Like sector-wise, I want to say maybe this was a planet somewhere in Andromeda. It was very far away. And anyway, but what they're seeing, they're doing their job. They describe all that to me, what they're doing with this type of I guess we could call it, they didn't call it the Galactic Federation, but it was something, along those lines. And what they were doing what they're doing, their whole deal was to rescue planets that were dealing with these slavery, humanoids enslaved of different races and different types of humanoids. And they described being part of a fleet, that's what they did, was go and rescue these people. That might have been one of the clients that Tony referred to me. I can't remember for sure now. But but anyway, so this is something that's serious. But then they talk about this and doing that work and being part of this, and all the really the legitimately the love, the caring that went into that. All right. And they described even like being in this coalition that would help these rescue would be these mantis, these praying mantis. And they described, and we hear about them quite a bit, but they describe these ones as being ones that had this type of a frequency that actually in their vocals that actually healed some of these humanoids that were traumatized in the slavery program. But they describe these mantises, but they're not to be toyed with. They're with us doing what we're supposed to do, but their emotions aren't. It's very interesting when you start dealing with that kind of stuff. Anyway, I want to wrap this up, but before they incarnate, okay, they're looking on a screen on one of these vessels as their body's expiring there, and they're seeing where their parents going to be in their Earth incarnation. They already know where they're going to choose to reincarnate before they go to that place of translation and reconfiguration I talked about. Then they went through that, and then when they start incarnating here, you have these factions that have tapped into their parents, and started manipulating their parents through various things.
Oh my gosh.
And in turn manipulated the way they incarnated under duress and under stress and trying to restrict their abilities. And then they targeted them and tried to put them in those programs, grabbed them out of school, all that stuff. I mean, stuff like that you can't really make up on some of these past life regressions, especially when the person is in near theta, almost delta. I try to take people too much into delta, they'd be snoring, like you said, and they become floppers. It means they fall out the chair or whatever, it's not very therapeutic.
Right. Well, that's us. That's basically us kind of hypnotizing ourselves there. And it takes a lot of practice to do this kind of stuff. It takes a lot. And that might have been one of our first attempts at doing it. So I'm sure I still snore.
On a serious note, I give you credit for that. The reason why I became a hypnotist was because I didn't care about other people. I started hypnotizing myself for the missing time. And I'm such a control freak, stressed out, paranoid brother that I can't release. I can relax enough, just let go. You know what I mean? To where I couldn't be hypnotized very easy, but it's because I didn't want to be. I was too tripped out. I could hypnotize myself anyway. I could sit down and find somebody I was comfortable with and let them work with me. You know what I mean? For years, I was against having someone else hypnotize me. I wanted to be like, I'm not like the other people. I remember I'm a conscious contactee. But the truth is, what I can remember for missing like 20 some hours of my life are really fractions. It's not that good for missing that much of time. I had to go through the process and learn more. So I really emphasize the people in your audience. If you've had experiences, even if you suspect, get hypnotized. Find out. Your super conscious, your over self, whatever you want to call it, will tell you. You tap into it. It's recorded everything, not just this lifetime, but your immortal soul. All your incarnations is still in your super conscious, and you can tap into that while in this body.
You can. Yeah, you can. That's why, that's like, I'm tapping into my highest potential this lifetime. I am. And there's no holding back at this point. Okay. Because I want to know, we're very powerful humans. You have no idea how much power you have. And a lot of it's right in here. Okay. In your own mind. We have to get out of our own heads. Okay, get out of your own heads. Quit believing that you're not limitless. Okay, we're limitless humans. And Renee has a very interesting comment here. The villagers of Woolpit discovered 2 children, brother and sister, beside one of the wolf pits. That the villagers gave the village its name. Their skin was green. They spoke an unknown language. Yeah, that's the story. Very interesting. And in your favorite book, the Urantia book, The Law of Nature Channel, welcome in. The Urantia book talks about the original humans being orange, purple, yellow, and deep blue hues.
I'm not going to touch that, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because that is the part I have a major problem with that book. That book, as far as racial discernment, is totally screwed, which is proved by modern genetics now in many ways. And the way it talks and describes us, it's completely against black people. I have a big problem with that in that book. But you know what? That is put in there by Sadler, who the heck ever, to stop people from like me reading it. I guarantee you that. But I eventually had to get past my own personal bias. I'm talking about going. I read that book in high school. I had an issue with that in high school, and I still deal with it now. But I had to put that aside and really use discernment and get the good information out of it. And I had what used to be a friend by the name of Hubert that runs the Uranta News Genius Cat. We had issues over that part of that book. That's all I'll say.
Okay. So. That's a cool book. I still haven't read mine yet. It's too big. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. It's gigantic. That book's like this thick. It's huge. Okay. Okay. So
hey, one thing, but in I don't want to seem like a total jerk, but what they just said is interesting. It's got all sorts of different beings in there, and when it talks, I think about the blue beings, is probably the most interesting one, because if you go into what Kemetic science will teach you, it says is that when you had certain beings that came down here, and the Dogon had said that too about some of the blue beings that came down here that got trapped here and stayed here when the solar radiation turned their melanin into dark black, opposed to being the blue that they were. Oh, and wow. that would be when you deal with the Dogon on the top of their village, they have those little holes up there, those little cubby holes. They say that's where the blue people went when they come down. And I don't believe that they're talking about just the Nomo. They're not just the Nomo, because the Nomo came in and went down into the sea. There were these little blue people that came there too. So anyway, just food for thought on that.
Little blue people like the Smurfs. I saw T-Bone make a comment about the Smurfs. Yeah. So
well, I don't laugh about you've seen my illustrations. I've encountered little blue beings that were from Andromeda. That's what they told. And people say that when they see the experience, they feel like clone or like robots to you or cyborgs. To me, they felt like living beings. I mean, they were doing their work, but I felt emotions coming off them. You know what I mean? But they were so little. When I say that, to say they were knee high is pushing it. It's pushing it.
Kind of like the Smurfs. I
never liked the Smurfs. You keep using the Smurfs. What is the Gargamel? What are you doing?
I love the Smurfs. I like Smurfette. Okay.
How did they reproduce? Since there was only one female. I never understood.
Man. I mean, Smurfette had a mama. They had a mama. I don't know. That was Papa Smurf was her dad, right? I don't remember.
Okay. Who were the other females there? Who was her mother? She didn't have a mother.
They'd unalived. Just kidding. I don't know.
Man, we're going to get back on subject. We were talking about Smurfs, man.
I don't know.
Back to Ceres, man. People already boo me out for talking about stuff that doesn't relate to when the brothers up here talking about Smurfs.
It's all because we're talking about people from other planets, and we're talking about the different races of ETs. We call them extraterrestrials, but they're probably terrestrial to that planet, on the planet that we're talking about, the dwarf planet, the Ceres. Okay. Amy, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that so much. You're so sweet. I'm sending you all my love tonight. Thank you. You and your mama. Okay.
Oh, hey, what's up, Amy?
Yeah.
Good people. People.
Oh yeah. No, it's all connected, because we're talking about the different types of ETs that are on that dwarf planet, in addition to humans as well. I do believe humans are there, or something close to humans. And according to Tony Rodriguez's testimony, there are humans there, like being used as slaves, basically, like he was on some sort of secret space program. Okay, so it all makes sense with my data. Okay, when you bring this data in, it makes the data make sense. Okay, hearing that testimony. So
wow, it does. And throw in again also, it'd be interesting to ask. I wonder if he's in the chat. Jock Doubleday. What Jock thinks about that place being, especially the ice there being geoengineered. He knows a lot about the different technologies used for such, to where he kind of sounds a little bit like Phil Schneider.
Oh yeah, Phil Schneider. Yeah, somebody actually had mentioned Phil in the chat today, and it was from his testimony. We started learning about what the reptilians and the deep underground military bases or in those tunnels, and the military fighting them. And I mean, his testimony is like,
Somebody in China downloaded like 3 of his lectures. It's all in one deal, and I caught it like about a week ago. Really good. You can't find a lot of his lectures anymore, and it's one where he's actually really showing his hand that's missing the fingers, and he's showing the different alloys that he had. It was really, really. I mean, that was a great whistleblower there. In my opinion, him, Clifford Stone, and Robert Dean are the 3 best, in my opinion. Okay, I mean, they're the oldest. They seem to have the most information. They showed the most credentials. Just saying,
Yeah.
And when I say that, it wasn't so fantasy like. And I'm sorry, just being a contactee, I have to separate sometimes experiences and contactees from the fantasy. Some people in these communities, they really want fantasy, and they take it really far. Okay, and that doesn't make it easy for those of us that are trying to understand our experiences. We need some type of reality, some type of science, of a type of a base, a foundation. That's really important. That's why I promote Ray's work so much, but people don't like it because it's not what sells. So,
yeah. Well,
I mean, all the conferences, you and I have spoke at 2 conferences now. And I swear to you, one person that should have been speaking at both of those is Ray Hernandez. And he spoke at less of these than both of us. And he's got this huge body of work that is the biggest survey, the biggest of like all time for contactees. There's never been a worldwide one like what they did. An academic one by academics, professors at Harvard and stuff. Whole different thing going on, but people don't like what the results were. So
you're not going to like the results of this. Smurfette is a homunculus.
Hey, you know what?
Well, that's true.
Hey, you know what? That's cool. Where is Dennis Carroll in the? Is Dennis Carroll in the chat? I'll tell you what. I've mentioned this before. That was a show you did, and I watched that show. And the homunculus, and actually Tom Baker as Doctor Who, and Dennis will know what I'm talking about because that's his favorite Doctor too. There was an episode called "The Talons of Wang Chiang," and in this there was this cat from the future. They used something called a Sigma beam to come from the future. He was a criminal, and he got tore up by the time chamber, messed up his face. But he brought this thing with him that was played by the guy named Roy Deep, that also played the little on Flash Gordon, Princess Ardala's, what's his name? Ming's daughter's little guy she was carrying around.
You sent me that. You sent me that. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, how they pronounced it over there was homunculus, but it's the same word, and they called it the Peking homunculus. And Doctor kept saying it had the brains of a pig, and it was a fuse that they made that carried this fuse that brought this thing alive, and it was really kind of like it was like a murderous little thing, what it was. But that's the first time going back in the 80s I'd ever heard the word homunculus.
Homunculus, yeah. It was okay. So
the English said homunculus. Same word. I'm just saying how they pronounced it. I don't know.
Okay, it's actually a pretty big topic right now. I'm hearing it more and more online. People are talking about it. I did a show with Dr. John Stamey where we were talking about something like the homunculus, but I forgot what that was. It was like a manifested being. I can't remember the name of it. I'm sure somebody in the chat will remember that. But he came on Spaced Out Radio with me, I think, and we talked about, it wasn't the mandrake is not the same. The tulpa, that's it. The tulpa.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we talked about that because there are manifested beings, and that was through. Seems like the tulpa was made of like clay, and like magical rites or something. I don't know. I'm hearing it more and more.
Isn't that what those other things are supposed to be made of too? Oh man, those things that were like brought alive.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw an episode of Supernatural not long ago, and that guy who's a real big guy who was on one of the Blade movies. He was playing one of these things, and he's just a huge guy with these huge hands. And they said a golem. That's what they call it. Wasn't that supposed to be made of something like that?
Yes.
A golem.
Yeah. Yes. That's right. Yeah, there've been a couple people that put that in there.
There
Yeah,
you
in the
go,
chat.
Golem.
Golem. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Great. We got golems. We got Peking, Humoculus. We got
it's something remarkable. Oh my gosh. And we've also got, clones. We've got robots. I mean, I actually have been considering doing a show on, I'll just say killer robots. I know I'm not supposed to say that word, but robots and stuff. And at this point, gosh, we're surrounded.
You can't say the R word now. You can't say
The
robots.
the K word. You're not supposed to say that, but
I missed it. I'm sorry.
yeah, killer. I'll say it again. I know.
Oh, okay, got you.
I'm serious about saying words
You
like
mean,
that. I don't know why people get so upset about it.
Like that story about the ones in Japan that supposedly went crazy and killed all the engineers. Is that what you mean?
It's like,
Or,
yeah,
sorry,
27 or 29.
engineers.
Yes. Huh? Yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
There's a young brother that makes these reels, and he says he works for Musk, and he's one of the programmers. Have you seen those?
Yes.
He's done a few of them.
No, I don't know. Maybe I have. I have no idea.
He talks about the amount of robots he's programmed and the amount that they're making in these factories that will replace most people's jobs. He's not kidding. He gives out several things that are like really intense if you're working inside those corporations. Somebody in your audience, I guarantee, probably knows what that guy's name is, but he's a young brother and he puts out these videos about what they're doing in those industries and those installations, how scary it is.
It's really, I just get upset when I go to like order like some enchiladas or burritos, at one of my favorite fast food places. Or no, what do I usually get? Like a cheesy gordita crunch or something. And I don't go often, but when I do, there's like nobody there to talk to over the intercom. It's robotic now. It's all like a robot voice. And I'm like, with my Southern accent, I have a hard time interpreting what I'm saying. Okay. So, yeah.
First time I experienced that was just before COVID in Melbourne. They had those, that's been 5 years ago now, but they had those at risk that you go up there. I mean, I didn't know. And I went up to the counter. Those people looked at me like I was out of my mind. Like, what are you doing coming up to the counter? I had no idea,
Oh my God.
I'd be interested to see what J Truth Seeker, what's happening? What you think about Bill Cooper? What you think about his testimony? It seemed like Bill Cooper kind of got drowned out a little bit. And I remember when I met Jim Mars, the first conference I spoke at, can't say I was a big fan. Anyway, but I had asked him about I asked him about William Cooper, and he lost his mind a long time ago before he died. Yeah, he kind of just completely put down Cooper's work and everything. But I thought Cooper was like the first whistleblower I had read about in that Behold the Pale Horse. That's been back in the 90s. But I just wonder what J Truth Seeker thinks about William Cooper. Food for thought.
Okay. Okay. Well, Edgar wants to know if you believe like Corey Good's testimony. Now, you actually know Corey, right? You've hung out with Corey.
We met. Okay, good, great question. Okay. I mentioned his name in your chat a few weeks ago on the thing he said about the galactic body parts, and I got attacked by some woman. She just went off like I'm a blue avian guy. Lady, I'm not hung out with the blue avians. I've had a bunch of contacts. That's not my story. Anyway, I say this much. When I met that cat, we're walking up towards that thing, towards the SETI, and we've been talking to him for a few hours. We're walking, and I said, man, you're not really what I thought you'd be like. And he's like, what'd you think I'd be like? I said, honestly, all the stuff that follows you, a DICK, and Barry Littleton takes those nowhere. You understand?
Okay.
And he started going. He said, well, that's cool. You need to get ready for the other side now. And I said, what's that? He said, the other hands that said, you don't hate me. They're going to say I converted you. So Barry, whatever happens, we're walking. Please don't stop eating chicken. And I stopped. I look at this cat. And he has like this mullet, and the wind, like all this grease on it. The wind has caught his mullet. It's like flying up like this, and he says that. Man, Jessica, when you talk to people, say I laugh a lot. My God, I almost puked. I was laughing so hard. I said, that was funny. He looks at me. He says, man, I have to make some light of all this. But anyway, going back to the answer of his question. All right, I don't like the bureaucracy that surrounds the individuals like Corey and that whole deal. Okay. But when I met him, he was quick to run over and try to hug me. And if you're not a beautiful woman, I'm really not the hugging type. One of the Doctor Who said that. I don't think I'm the hugging type this time. But I went ahead and let him hug me so I get a read on him, just like that. And so I let him touch me. And the first thing is, no matter what, I felt large amounts of what I call Artron energy coming off him. Like I felt it coming off you. Okay. Well, I asked you about you being a contactee. You just looked at me when we met in person. But I felt that coming off him, a lot of it. So I got to tell you this. That means, despite all the bureaucracy, he's either been on board one of these crafts like I have, or several, or he's been around some of these beings, some of the higher ones that irradiate your cells with that energy. Okay, so I had to accept that first before all the other stuff. And when he kept wanting to hang out with me, follow me around, so I talked to him. You know what I mean? And he didn't seem like the intimidating person everybody was describing. Are you kidding me? He didn't have that energy to me, but hey, whatever. I'm not with most of those crowds. Point being, certain things, when we get to talking in private, he told me a lot of things that were very interesting. And I can't discredit them all because I felt that energy coming off him. But neither can I believe them all with the stuff and bureaucracy that followed him after that. That was before all the lawsuits and stuff. So it got real hairy after that with that cat. But I got to go on that first. All right. And so things like that are things like, everybody find this one interesting because we've talked about this before, but maybe privately. There's that illustration I'd sent you. That is that dude in the blue uniform, like a military dude, looking up at this big old, like 14-foot draconian royalty with the wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just him and I said, man, after I got through drilling him about black extraterrestrials, I said, man, wasn't that picture? That's you, wasn't it? He's like, yeah. And I've told the story probably in the show before. He tells me what he went to. I read micro expressions. And along this guy's trying to tell me this story, he started stuttering. He started looking funny. And it wasn't because he was lying. He looked genuinely, I don't like this word. It has negative racial encounters, but the word, he looked spooked. He looked spooked. All right. And it wasn't just an act. If it was a really good one. Better than, I read micro expressions, are better than a politician in that way. But he talks about going at this, it's like in Silicon Valley or somewhere, they go for a cleanup in this building that's broke down look on the outside, but they get in this nice elevator, go down to the bottom level. And when it opens up, he never smelled urine like that in his life. He said, strong urine smell. And then when they're moving around, that thing comes out the side and he said psychically in his mind before it even saw it. And he said it was very offensive and it was just horrifying, he said. But then he told me about another encounter he had with one of these reptilians of that size. And he said that the ship came and picked it up. And he described the ship as being an orb about, yay size. And this thing compacts, contracts, and slides up into this orb. And he said that the orbs were their ships, the ones that are from another dimension. The reptilians from the dimension, their ships are these orbs. Advanced technology. I know enough about the micro or the quantum hologram to say what he's saying is not unreasonable. And when we talk about how the dream body, the energy body doesn't conform to the same parameters as the physical body, one of the ways of shape-shifting, not just in the animals, you have control of your dream body. You can shape-shift it, not just into a 3D type body, but also into an orb, into a sphere. And that's what's used best for galactic transport when you're dealing with these makos. And that's why when you see some of these orbs, people like my friend Bill Spicer, I did my first interview with, he wrote this book with this lady named Margie Kay, and it's called Fast Movers. He's the first cat that got me to do an interview and come forward. All right. But he it seemed like similar, okay, and dealt with some. It's just very, very interesting when you start dealing with that, and what the whole quantum part of it and the Mako part. And sorry, I didn't finish with Bill. Sorry, skipped off. He has these pictures of these orbs, and he had me over to his house before I did that first interview. He had to go over there. He's got hundreds of these pictures, And some of them look like bugs and stuff but some of them don't. Some of them look really good. He's got something called the quantum observation technique that involves putting on polarized glasses and looking off the angle of a house or a building and then seeing the rays outside. You can see different crafts and things. It's a good technique. But anyway, he's got some of these, and he's like, hey, look, Barry, this is this Stewie head in there. That's the Stewie head. I'm like, who the hell is Stewie? That's the cartoon thing. And he starts pointing to me. I can see what looks like a being. Someone look like grays and different things in these orbs looking out. So that really confirms the thing about the quantum hologram I've been talking about a long time. And species that actually use the fabric of space, the fabric of the Mako, of the black hole, as their main power source. It's a lot to be said about that. It's not just Barry talking crazy, okay?
Yeah. No, Barry's not just talking crazy. Definitely not. And wow, I wanted to say thank you to T-Bone for that super sticker. And I did want to take a moment and to remember our good friend, Tom Cardos, who passed away. I think it was over the weekend. Tom was my friend. Okay, he was a friend. He was one of the first people whose show that I went on, actually. He interviewed me, and I've interviewed him on KJRA Digital Broadcasting 2 years ago. Back in the day, he had a motorcycle accident over the weekend, and so it might have been on Monday. It was this week, and but he was a good friend. I miss him. He's going to be very missed, and so thank you, T-Bone, for recognizing that tonight. And so yeah, so our thoughts and prayers go out to his wife Lori and to their 2 children, to all their friends and family. Okay, so rest in peace to Tom, good friend. All right, and wow, okay. You did ask about Bill Cooper. I think Jay Trusiger had said that you were asking what he thought about Bill Cooper, and there's been a lot of discussion in the chat tonight about that, and so I did pull up some of those comments while you were talking. But a lot of people, even Sovereign Cosmic Wildman, was saying that the underground hip hop community really read into his book, "Behold a Pale Horse," I think is what it's called, and so. Yeah. Jay Trusiger, I can't find his comments now, but he said that he had a fiery personality or something, I think is what he said. Yeah. Okay. So there's a picture from Aerial Space Time. If you type my name into Facebook and pull up maybe extraterrestrial picture and Bill Cooper, or just my name and Bill Cooper, it might pop up. It's a picture that was on one of these aerodynamic magazines. And it's this type of an alien that's like half the shadows on it. It's got his hand up like that. Looks like some type of a gray. William Cooper swore that picture was real. One of the creatures that have been caught in one of these wrecks. You sent me that.
We'll talk about.
You sent me that. That actually, it does look real. You sent me that, and you said, I've been told this is a real picture of a real alien. And we should
something about the picture. Doesn't it make you feel sad when you see it? It generates a feeling of sadness. It feels lonely or abandoned or something. It's the way it feels. Yeah, you're right. It does. If I can find that picture, we'll put it up. I'll put it up after the show somewhere. I'll put it on my social media because I know I have it somewhere. It's here somewhere. Yeah, cool. Or just type in Barry Littleton, William Cooper. It might come up on Facebook. Okay. If you don't have it, let me know. I've got it in my archive. Okay. Let me write it down so I'll forget. It kind of goes into what Clifford Stone was saying, that when he interacted as a communicator with some of these extraterrestrials in these crashes, that the emotions, when you just get in their presence, was so overwhelming, and and I can understand what he was saying, you know what I mean? Because I've been, again, around those presence, those beings that have a higher vibration than us, they have a sharper awareness than us. It makes us feel different. Really, when you're in the biofield of one of them, even if they look humanoid, you know what I mean? There's a lot to be said about that. And I think it's also something else that we don't have ability we should have that we do not anymore. We should have auras like that. There's a reason why they draw those people in biblical times, they're quote unquote saints or whatever, but they have these light around them. There's a reason for that.
Mm-mm. Well,
And, you know, there are these people that I call these humanoids. I've talked about them before. I call the charters. I've said before, they come around about every 7 years for those of us that have had contact since we were children. About every 7 years, one of these will come around. They look humanoid, but if you can read energy and feel energy, it pushes you forward. And they feel like maybe if humans don't destroy ourselves next couple of thousand years, what will our consciousness be like before we change to a different container for our consciousness? What do we feel like? What are we like? These people feel like that to me. Okay, their energy pushes you like that. Not like somebody has ADHD, but somebody that's very advanced, and they can come in telepathically really strong too. And they come out of a crowd or a library somewhere. They catch you in a public place, and they say a couple of things. They talk to you for like 2 minutes, and they just say some heavy stuff that makes you go, "Whoa!" It kind of stops your world, and then they're gone. They're going back in the crowd. Well, who was that? What?
oh my gosh. You know what? There have been a couple of times in my life where I have met people like that. And there have been times in my life, like where the people have come to me and like dropped some knowledge on me out of the blue and like took off. And there have been times where like, I remember me kind of doing that to a couple of people and kind of not knowing, like total strangers. Okay. And then later down the road, hearing from those people, finding me on social media and being like, oh my God, you changed my view on things, and how cool is that? But you've had that happen to you when you were a kid, right? When you had the encounter with the man in was it a crystal shop or an antique store? Didn't that happen to you?
An antique shop. Yeah,
Antique
and
shop.
I had to deal with, and he's the same cat that was on that craft. When I saw the first ship I saw with my mother, he was on that craft. I couldn't put it together for a while. This is the same individual. So it tells you something. That was this cat, and I think that's a that craft was historians, and they weren't all humanoid. I'm sure in each one of the windows. I showed that craft before because it had the windows around it, and the other craft I've been on board are organic. They don't have windows, but that one did. And then I'm inside. It looks like a wall. The guy goes like that, and all of a sudden I can see my entire city. I can look down, see my mother not down there. So that shows I was being bilocated during that experience. That happens to a lot of us. The technologies they use some sort of bilocation technology. I can say one thing about it: it makes you hazy, and afterwards, I think you feel a little bit elated from it, but then you wind up sleeping for a while. It makes you kind of tired for a few days. You're kind of wiped out behind that once they actually use it on you. Not that it's a bad way. It's just, I think, a natural byproduct of the technology they're using. Anyway, every 7 years, for me, last year would have been my 7th year. And I'm always looking to see if I have a charter come. And, I got approached by this lady at the Vegas conference, Stairway to the Stars. It was after I had spoke, and I was on 2 panels in one day, and I got done. I changed, and I was going to go hear somebody else speak. And it's like Corlin Corey or somebody. And this lady stops me in front of the entrance of the booth, and she has really long hair. She's, like Crystal Gale long. She's a little bit older. Okay. And she just starts telling me this heavy stuff. And, I'm not easy to read, especially when I walk around somewhere like that. I've got shields up. But she was kind of reading me, but it was in an odd way. And she was saying stuff that was super heavy. Like, I want to go in and hear this date. You want to come in here? We talked for a while, and she wouldn't go in. Oh, no, I'll be out here later. Never saw her again.
Really?
And I kind of wonder, was that my charter? My 7th year that I had before that would have been the year I went to a SETI to speak out there the first time. And what happens? I have this albino Sasquatch or whatever that thing is out there, just literally almost heckling me all over this property. And I'm wondering now, and then I had the mind speaking stuff that I can't say was that this Sasquatch, I don't know, but it was doing a darn good impression, okay? But I think it was the charter for that year for me. Wow. You know what I mean? Things are not the way we always think. Yeah, yeah. It just expands the parameters of things of what we're dealing with. Just like I said, that we have other beings that in our other world and the other world that is beings with awareness and no organism. We have cosmological beings coming in and landing here on Earth all the time, and we can't perceive it. They're landing in that world, but they start manifesting in our dreams, showing up as either they hide in the phantasmagorical images of our electron impulse, but they wind up showing up as people. The worst ones, the negative ones, the hostile ones, show up as people we love, and they'll be tearing you up in your dream. Somebody you love is being miserable to you. Somebody you know what I mean? Then the others that are more, can be quote unquote beneficial, can show up as things that we don't recognize, odd objects in weird situations. And that's going into these people that in your audience have the ability to switch their dreams and change their dreams. Those are very powerful people in terms of perception, and once you do that, I mentioned before, you start being able, you have the ability to change your dream. You can wipe all that clean and see you're really in the middle of nothing but electron impulse. And what other energy generating beings are in your awareness, in your field of perception? That's what some of them are, not just from Earth, they're from other places in the cosmos. Beings of sharp perception, inorganic beings of sharp perception and capable of great feats of awareness and perception. Like I said, we're in kindergarten here. And it's, food for thought. This is other types of contact. It's more than just ships. It's more than just SSP. It's more than what I'm talking about. It goes into these inorganic beings and these beings that have awareness and no organism. We got to be aware of that and be, sorry, I don't want to go on that too much because we're predators for some of those beings.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, that whole thing, this whole slavery thing in this galaxy that we're dealing with now, that's all satanic stuff.
It feels
all
like
this dark stuff that just roams down here. And all of us, we have these negative identities, this negative self, that so much of our energy goes into that it fractures into negative identities through trauma. Okay. And that takes so much of our energy, even though the consciousness grabs it and subconscious puts it back, these trauma things, these negative identities, but it's so much of our energy is diverted there to where, you have these thoughts. I was listening to your friend, Chantel.
Yes.
I heard one of her shows with Jerry Marinsky. Marinsky. Brilliant man. Respect a lot to what he's saying because he worked in the prison field, therapeutic too, psychiatric. So he knows. He talked to a bunch of schizophrenics.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about how, the voices are external demons, which I agree. But, our negative self is so strong. Some of those voices are our own. Oh. And then we start making these almost we make these poltergeists. I've had a few clients that do that. They're really strong, but they've got these negative identities, these negative self, and then you got these organic beings are just pouring fire on the grease on the fire. It flames, and then it's kind of really a trip how much of our energy is there. But once you get rid of those, humans are we're capable of these things of perception. And when you start dealing with like those old Toltec warriors, like what Carlos Castaneda talks about, they were into crafting their perception to be so sharp that when their body died, there's no corpse. They transition completely into infinity or into inorganic beings with sharp awareness that can do these other feats of awareness. And they said that's the hidden clause in our death process, is that we can become inorganic beings based on the Earth matrix and will exist as long as the Earth does. It's a form of death defying. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But, interesting things to explore what we really are. But people don't like that because we got the materialists who talk about reptilians and all that stuff. And that's a factor too, by all means. But they don't want to talk about the stuff behind it, consciousness. The gatekeepers of these communities stop that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we live in our world is not, it's just not, by design, it's not as beautiful as it once was. Okay. And by that, I mean like architecturally and everything around us is like created to keep us in a box. Okay. Keep us in a box and not to live to our fullest potential and not to reach the heights of our fullest potential on an energetic level, on a spiritual level, on a physical level. Oh my God. I know I mentioned going to get a cheesy gordita to crunch. Okay. I don't do that every day. Okay. I don't. And talking to the animated person on the box. Okay. I don't do that every day. We need to start looking at the world and, find beauty in everything again. Okay. And tapping into our highest potential and doing things like we're doing right now, talking about, doing remote viewing targets and just learning how to tap into that, our enhanced human capabilities. Okay. We need to start tapping into stuff like that because we are being programmed. We have been programmed to not do that. Okay.
You know why? You know why?
I do. Well, because it'll change the world. That's why. Well, it'll bust everybody out of the matrix that we're living in.
It's a little more simplistic than that.
Okay. Because of love? You don't want us to love? Tell me, Barry.
Because we are food for the predators.
Jeez. Because we're food.
I mean, think about it. I said something earlier, and I know somebody got mad at me recently when I talked about this. And it was somebody that I'd actually crossed over probably about 9 earthbound spirits out of, but then they don't do the protections, and then things get back on them. And they get mad at me. You know what I mean? Saying, oh, and it's weird when you do something that you can see it's these negative entities that's acting through them. They're doing certain things. And ask them, they get done attacking. You been doing the protections? No. Well, there you go. Anyway, but what they were saying about the love thing is completely correct. But we're food for the predators. And when I say that, they gave us their minds, it's the negative thoughts. And this whole thing about what did the negative forces, whatever name you want to call it, really give us at this fall between these angelic forces? What did it give us? It gave us the choice of the negative self. That's what it gave us. Okay. But when we have beings of luminosity, we have predators that eat on us. And what they do, they keep us in this it's just like having cattle. They keep us in these almost cages of perception to where we're not doing the magical things that gentleman just said that we're capable of. Okay. And instead we're doing these very, very primitive things. And what they do is they do these emotional flares so they can feed. They create these traumas, these situations that flare your emotions.
Oh, yeah,
go ahead and use your word because it's the happening word now. I call it negative psychokinetic energy, but go ahead and say it. It's
Loosh.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds like the new type of Jolly Rancher. I can't eat Jolly Ranchers anymore because I think I'm eating loosh. Sucking on a piece of loosh. It sounds like candy.
Ew.
Anyway, sorry. But seriously, but that's what these beings do. And we're their food. And it's a constant food source because we're not doing the things that gentleman just said. And I've always wondered why is it the babies have that bright luminous cocoon, and then when we grow up, by the time a cat is like in his teens, they don't have it anymore. It might be bright towards their feet, but the rest is just this other luminous cocoon, but it's not super bright like it is on infant. Why? Because those predators are eating it.
Ew.
It's like pruning a tree. If you don't prune the tree, it grows to its full potential. Our energy field is the same way. Our glow of awareness is the same way. These are things that are really important that people in these communities aren't talking about enough.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put stuff down, but I'm just saying we got to get beyond the materialists that are the gatekeepers in these communities.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you hear it here. We talk about it occasionally, and it seems to come up because these are the important topics right now, because it's affecting all of us. And sometimes you just can't put your finger on exactly what it is that's got us down. Like what, and a lot of us do. Like I know Dan, the immortal spaceman here in the chat, was saying that he was asking, do you feel like humanity is rising? Do you feel like the consciousness is raising? Now, are we elevating? I think a lot of us are. I think we are. I think it's a good thing, but the forces are fighting even harder to keep us down right now too. Okay, so just be aware.
I like
Be
that.
aware. Listen,
A Jolly Ranchers. That's funny.
no, right? Okay. Well, I did want to say, I did want to say this tonight because we do have a full moon. Okay, and here on the East Coast of the United States, before we went live on the show, I was outside. The moon is absolutely gorgeous. It's huge. It's the Hunter's moon tonight. It's the super moon. This is a time of energetic kind of change. A lot of transformations have been taking place, and a lot of people. It's like a rebirthing process right now. There's a lot of us like Dan, I agree with you. A lot of us do feel like the consciousness is raising. Okay. We are elevating, but there's a lot of people who are kicking and screaming not to change right now. There's a lot of people that don't want to change. We got to keep it moving, y'all. Okay. Everybody keep it moving. Keep it moving. If people want to waller in their own crap right now, let them do it and just keep it moving. Okay. It's time for us to elevate. Everybody to cleanse your rocks. I see me in there. Cleanse your crystals tonight. Okay. Cleanse your body tonight. All right. And do your minds.
The Hunter's moon is so bright that's the night the predators choose for the hunt.
Oh, really? Well, then get in your house and lock your doors, y'all.
Just saying, it's one thing to be aware of about the Hunter's moon. That's why they call it that.
Stay in the house, shut your doors and lock them, and go to bed early. Well, it's also a time of like, I was hearing earlier today, like, people that practice the dark arts and stuff are really ramping it up right now too. So be aware of that too. So we got to protect ourselves. Okay, like really cleanse your space, really protect your energy right now. And keep it moving. Don't let people bring you down right now. Okay. Especially if you've done a lot of work on yourself. Spiritually.
Moondog. What's next in 2037? I can't help it. I'm looking over there. What's next in 2037? Moondog just said next one is 2037. What is next? I'm just curious. And the reason why I ask is this reason. I've got this thing. I've got it on my Patreon only. I should probably put it on my public. But it's these two calls. Art Bell back in the 90s used to take the south of the mountains, whatever you call that one line, and he made it for time travelers only, people that claim to be time travelers. And he did that several times. And there's this guy that called in twice, and he said he's from the year 2036 or 2037. It is not John Teeter. This is somebody else. And he calls in the second time saying, I just heard myself talking, and for you that was a few years ago, but for me it was just it was very fascinating. And the type of technology he describes coming back, a layered dimensional transport vehicle. It's just fascinating. But the reason why I asked what this guy's saying 2037, that guy said he came from that year. And he talked about a couple of different timelines that could be affected in that time period if it's not done back here. One of them was called, I think, Operation Southern Cross. That was one of them. And Art Bell said, I've heard about that. And the guy goes, you've heard about Southern Cross at this time date? And he's going, it was very interesting. I've got both of those on my Patreon. Yeah, and there was another guy called in. I've not been able to find this one. He called in one of those time travel things, and he said, the timeline I come from, we had a black president. Or it's like, oh, there's not much chance of that like there is a female president. He said, we had a black president on my timeline. He said, and also, everything's going to change. Those CDs that you guys are so into right now. CDs were the new thing back then, Jessica. They were hot. They had a little laser prism on them. Everybody was into them, But he said,
I have my packages, my little books of CDs. I still have mine, by the way. I do.
He says those are going to be like 8 tracks. My parents had 8 tracks. I remember that. Did your mom have any 8 tracks?
I was just explaining to my son today, I was telling him about my first tape that had cuss words on it. My cousin had, I shouldn't tell you all this, but I'll go ahead and say it. My cousin made me a copy of his NWA album when I was 10, because I heard my son rapping NWA this week. Okay. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Yes, he didn't cuss, so don't worry. Okay.
Ben,
I
ben
was
was
cussing. I threw
Ben was busting rhymes. All right.
it. Well, it's so funny because like I heard because I don't know how he picked that up. But I was like, well, when I was 10, that's when I got my tape of that. And so I'll never forget. And I'm like, wow, okay. So it's just mind blowing. It's like I'm in a time warp right now with my kid.
Well,
But I
you
had tapes, and then the CDs came after the tapes, and now we've got like MP3s and stuff after that.
see, but the dude said this though. He said those CDs will be like 8 tracks. He said, everything's going to change because everything. I'll never forget. He said everything will be streamed. That's what he said. Everything will be
Stream.
streamed. And I
That's
swear to you,
legit.
I was listening to this. I mean, I was still listening to this actually driving around when I got off work on AM, like when it was still AM, coast to coast AM when in the 90s. It was before Y2K. I was so sick of hearing about that. Oh, man, everything was Y2K, Y2K. I watched the people I knew for years lose their mind behind that whole thing. I called it the Y2B list. I had a list of people that lost their minds somewhere between 1999 and 2000. Anyway.
Oh my God. Yeah, we were really worried. We were like trying to back up our hard drives on our computers with those floppy disks. You're on the front. We had like the hard disk and the floppy disk.
My first computer
so
was a
worried.
big 20. It used those real big floppy disks. Everybody wanted to be like Matthew Broderick and have a computer that typed into, the Whopper, the first AI machine, right? Well, I'm sorry, not really. I guess Buck Rogers showed that. Anyway.
Oh my God.
It's true though. That's what War Games was about, though. It was about AI, was it not? And then the next one was the movie called AI, right? You remember that movie? The little punk kid?
Yeah, I do. I do. Well, look how far we've come with the AI now, though. Like we've come so far. Now our whole world's being taken over by robots. Right.
Another thing I'm gonna throw at you real quick. I'm gonna interrupt you, but you said during the remote viewing that you felt like you were in a strobe light or something.
Yes, I did.
You're describing a light weapon.
I am.
For people that want a reference for that, check out the movie Looker, probably about 1984, and look at the gun they had on there. Albert Finney's standing with Susan Day, and they're showing this gun. She said, "It looks like a glorified flashlight." He says, "No, it's a light weapon." And he starts talking about, but really, it's I think that's what you were being exposed to when you described that. And when you see when Tim Roncevich shoots him with the gun and it goes like what you're describing, it goes woo, 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 and all of a sudden they're just kind of standing there, like they lose time. And in reality, when you start dealing with how some of these virtual reality scenario technology and these evil beings are deceiving people through false illusion and false environments, like what Carla Turner talked about, you're dealing with optical nerves and type of weapons like that. So it's not all that much crap. And not just that, on that movie Looker, they also had this deal where they scan the models and then use computer enhancement and put these computer enhancements in the commercials. It's not even really the models there. These CGI commercials. That's all on that movie Looker. There's a cheesy movie most people probably don't remember. Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Maybe 1983. And the guy that was the bad guy looked like Tim Roncevich. He was a football player. Kind of looked like that sorry guy, Dick Butkus. And never could stand no Dick Butkus. Him and kind of look like Tom Selleck. That whole look was in back then,
Oh my God. Tom Selleck, man, I tell you, we have come a long way. And Amy's right. Movies are soft disclosure. And looking back on all these movies from all the years, I was an 80s baby, kind of like I grew up during the 80s. That was my childhood. And all those movies, like Back to the Future, even. Okay, about time travel. All these movies were like, and even E.T. Okay, like I have the original E.T. book. Like I have an actual book from like 81 or 80 or something. I don't even, maybe 79 for all I know. I feel like the original E.T. book. I mean, that's all like soft disclosure kind of.
I watched George Lucas talking recently. Oh, is it Spielberg? Which one made that movie? Spielberg, right? Spielberg. Right. He was talking. That made E.T. was Spielberg, I think, right? He was talking and he said, and I'd heard this before, but not quite from him. I'd always heard that ET's planet was fungi type of mushrooms. And they
Oh.
even have that at one of those Disneylands. This lady I used to do these shows with, Floorburn, took her kids to Disneyland all the time. And she took them to this room that she said was ET's planet. And she said it was all full of mushrooms, luminous mushrooms. But I was listening to Spielberg talking. He said, ET is a plant. And the person kept saying, a plant? He said, yes. Do you remember when the plants would die and he'd bring them back to life or make them grow? He was here. He was a botanist here connecting plants. He wasn't a kid. We think that because he's eating the Reese's Pieces. Oh no. But he wasn't a kid. Okay, he was a botanist that was collecting specimens, and he got left. But anyway, George Lucas said he is a plant. The way his neck goes up, all that, he's supposed to be a plant.
Oh my
Food
God.
for thought. That species. Food for thought. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't
I
make the
didn't know
rules. I
that.
just watch them.
Okay, well, I can say I never saw E.T. as a little kid. I always thought he was an old man. Okay, he looks more like an old man. But
You remember the guy that came to get him? He was an old man. When the ship landed to take him back, one of these guys walked out. He was an old man with a staff and a real long like goatee. Looked kind of like a samurai, like Worf looks in the Picard series. They turned him into kind of a samurai. But you don't watch that, so I'm talking nonsense
no.
to you. Anyway.
Well, okay, well, what about, remember we did that really weird remote viewing target of those little alien bodies in Mexico that were on display? Those kind of look like, and I don't think those were real ETs. Okay, I really don't. Not through that data. They kind of look like ET a little bit. They were molded after ET, I think.
Maybe that was kind of a sad deal.
That was weird, right?
Blade Runner. Hey, May.
Oh.
Do you remember the movie Scanners? I thought that was a good one. Do you remember Scanners, Jessica?
No, I don't think so. Scanners.
Might have been a couple years before the 4 or 5, 6 years between us. It might have just a little bit before your age. You know.
No.
In fact, I was just watching. I was telling my friend. I said, one of those movies that was boring was the movie Ben. Hey, you remember that movie about the rats?
No, you know what movie that I was just thinking I thought was really good growing up was it Flatliners? It's like a movie called Flatliners. It's like where they would die and then the friends would bring them back to life with the heart pumps. Yeah, those electrode pumps.
You know my favorite part of that was that little kid from the TV series Beauty and the Beast with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman. That little kid played a character named Billy Mahoney. And every time Billy Mahoney would come around, he was jacking Kiefer Sutherland up, man. Because he killed him, remember? Knocked him out that tree. That was a great movie. or the young sisters who's following dude around, cussing him out every time. Yeah, I thought that was a great movie.
Yeah, there were a lot of good movies out of the 80s, man. And Kiefer Sutherland was like in every one of them. Okay, like he was in all them. Lost Boys, that's another good one too.
That was one of the best.
Stand By Me.
Yeah, best vampire movies.
Yeah.
Trying to think, his father just died recently, and he was the star of Body Snatchers. Another one that I think gives out a lot of disclosure. The movie Body Snatchers. They were again plant organisms there, and I heard somebody who I've been taking more issues with lately. But anyway, Neil Tyson deGrasse making an example. People are criticizing him from eating meat. He said, everybody always talks about extraterrestrials. What if you were a plant species that came here, an advanced, like Jedi type plant species? You come here, you'd be appalled. Because not just do you have vegetarians that eat nothing but plants, but they focus on the babies. Baby cabbage, baby. They said they hate the kids.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's food for thought. And dudes who's saying that to is just kind of looking at him. You need to think about it like that. If you're a plant, come here. ET should have been really appalled, not worried about no Reese's Pieces.
Okay. Let's take that a little step further. What about Sasquatch? Okay, so they have it chlorophyll in their hair, right? So that could be a connection.
But again, another reason for them to avoid people. And the more I work with you too, the more intrigued I get about Sasquatch, because whatever those things are, they touch my life, and I've never actually seen one, but they were messing with me without a doubt. And I wonder so much about how many lineage of them there are in terms of awareness. And do you just have I heard somebody talking recently, oh, Jessica, I can't tell you who it was, but they were saying that only the medicine men, the shamans of the different clans have the ability to really use invisibility and to use these other gifts that come through the dream body. They're the ones that have been trained about it. But I kind of wonder if that's accurate. Is it just the shamans of the clans, or do most of them have it? According to species, we know that the type 2s don't. You've got that in your remote viewing. They're more primal, to the point that I'm surprised one of them hasn't been caught. Probably has by the military. You wouldn't hear about
They
it.
probably have, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. They probably have been, considering we have done that remote viewing target on the cryptid containment facility. It's actually called the Anomalous Species Containment Facility, I think is what we called that. Actually, Andrew was asking, how close is the Cabin in the Woods cryptid containment facility to the actual cryptid facility? So I've never seen the Cabin in the Woods, so I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, please fill me in on this Cabin in the Woods.
I don't know. I've heard of it, I guess, but I don't watch a lot of movies. I did when I was a kid. Not now. I ain't got time for that right now.
I know. Okay. People just get mad at me. People, I'm sorry. I had another question. You spend a lot of time in the woods. I've heard something for years and years, and never much about it, but just hear about. Have you ever heard about these stairways that appear in the forest? Have you heard of that?
Yes, people ask me about those all the time.
Is that just crap, or is it true?
I've never come across any, so I don't know. I'm sure
anybody reliable giving you anybody reliable giving you no?
We should do I can't talk, a remote viewing target.
That's a good idea.
On some
BS. You have a Jessica Jones BS look on your face, like you don't buy it. You don't buy the stairwells in the forest.
You know what? I just don't get it. I don't get a feeling off of it like, oh, this is like groundbreaking portal. Like I just don't think that somebody put them there. Like those columns that are popping up all over. Those, what are they called that we remote viewed? There's like those metal obelisk things that are popping up.
Yeah.
Those are from an artist. Those aren't ET or anything. I just think it's some kind of I think it's probably art, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I would walk up them. Probably. I mean, I probably would walk up them. Actually, I would. I would not recommend you send your kids up them, or you go up. Let the professionals handle it. Okay, call in your local crazy, paranormal researcher to go and try it out if they want to. But normal people should not be walking up those steps because we really don't know. I have no idea.
I've seen that monument. I think it's in Australia called Bandy, and it looks like stairs going into the sky, like metal stairs going way up. That's pretty beautiful. But yeah, I've just always heard that, so I just was curious. I wouldn't go up them either. I wouldn't, and just like if I see a portal, I wouldn't go in that either. I just.
Yeah, well, I will not volunteer to walk into a portal willingly. I won't. Not after we've lost 2 of my teammates that walked into one. So, this stuff can be very dangerous. So we just gotta be careful about it. We really don't know. We don't know what they are, and we don't know what kind of side effects it might have. And we do know we do have a lot of missing 411 cases and stuff. So, but yeah, that would make a great target, though, Barry. Let's put that on the list. Let's definitely put that on the list. Yeah. Well, how about this? How about we do? Oh, it's 10:10 on the clock over here. Let's kind of make it come full circle tonight, and let's kind of talk about the bright lights on Ceres before we go tonight, and kind of wrap that data up and everything, because I do believe that there's life on that planet. There's human life on that planet. How'd they get there? How'd they know about it? How long have they been there? That's the question, right? What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, you've got a lot of people that say they're in these programs. They have these. What is it? What is the whole thing called? Is the whole thing called Solar Warden that has these different craft in there that take people there that are like this secret space program thing? Is that what it's called, Solar Warden, or is
Well,
that
I
one of the
think
individual crafts?
that's
I
one of
can't
the
remember.
individual programs for sure. Now, as far as what like Tony's testimony, I believe he was taken there used as a slave. Okay, like all I remember is he had a collar on. Okay, a collar. He was used for hard labor, from what I can remember too. Some kind of labor there, and it sounded very much like Trappist One. Okay, very much like the data that we got off the Trappist One. I mean, this is almost identical to Trappist One, actually, because they were mining. Remember, I said they were mining for minerals or something on Trappist One, right? There was a mining operation going on, and there was slavery. And I remember seeing like an elevator, or like an escalator, or a staircase that was moving when I first went into that target, but it had something to do with a mining operation that was going on there. So I think that they're doing the same thing on this dwarf planet as they're doing on Trappist One, according to the data, because it's so
Wow.
similar, Barry. And I wanted to show this picture. I hadn't shown this picture yet, I don't think, but this is the light taken by this at the same location, and the light, apparently the lights blink and move. Okay, so this is just a progression of the lights changing shape and moving a little bit too. So
Wow.
I don't know.
Well, that's interesting.
Interesting too. They say the lights blink. Okay, they're not always like solid. They do kind of move, and it could be the haze that is moving over them too, because there is that haze cover, like the fog and stuff. But
Wow.
yeah, I mean, there are places like this on the moon too, right? Am I right or am I wrong? It seems like there's lights on the moon.
I want to say, yeah, one of the craters. You know, it's always these things in the craters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that, yeah, I do believe so. I've seen something about that. You know, it's wow. You know, this guy. In fact, I met this gentleman just briefly. I didn't really get to talk to him when I was in Vegas at that conference. David Hatcher Childress. That's on Ancient Aliens. That kind of talks like but he wrote a book. When I first actually came across his name, then again back in the 90s. In fact, this was like the early to mid 90s. It was a book he wrote called Extraterrestrial Archaeology.
Okay.
And all it was about the different moons in this solar system that might be inhabited. Some of the planets too, but he's focusing on the moons and what he thought were actually artifacts and remnants in some of the pictures that were being taken by Pioneer 10 and also the Voyager probes.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Well, there's even
But I mean, I
towers
wonder
on
what
the
he
moon
says about
too.
Ceres, just food for thought.
Okay. That's very interesting. Javier, who's in the chat, says he was mentioning the towers on the moon too. Okay, so there's not just lights; there's like miles high towers. And I
That's
think
on
dark side of the moon, maybe.
it's on the far side. That's information that
Okay.
was really given by Richard Hoagland, and he wrote a book called Dark 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 Mysteries, I think it is, but it's or Dark Moon, it might be. But anyway, there's the tower that's about supposedly 6 miles off 60 miles off the ground there, and there's also the palace, the Crystal Palace. And if anybody wants to go to my YouTube channel, one of the first videos I did was over the moon, and I show a bunch of those pictures and stuff. I also visited some of the things because the Chinese sent a bunch of stuff to the far side of the moon, and we never heard anything about it, what they got, what they found. But yeah, definitely. And when now someone mentioned Corey Good earlier, when him and I were talking again privately, we talked about the dark side of the moon. He was saying that those structures weren't really crystalline or artificial as much as they were natural structures that were hit by the solar flash. Okay, I do not agree, but that's okay. You know what I mean? But just again, food. I throw these things out as food for thought. So something else. When going back to that and the moon, what the gentleman mentioned about the towers. I won't go into it again because we talked about it on maybe the other show. But what Richard Hoagland says about not just the dark side of the moon, but about that Ceres satellite that went to space, the asteroid Bennu, and were taking samples and they dropped it back here, and that it has signs of being actually an artificial ancient spacecraft that's dealing with like pico gears and nano gears appear to be on it. And they say the same thing about the piece of rock that's on Biden's desk in the Oval Office. There's a piece of moon rock there. They say under electron microscope looks quite similar. It looks like it's artificial spaceship of some type. You know, that I don't know if that piece of stuff from Bennu is still at the Smithsonian. Had actually had an exhibit where people could go out and take pictures of it with their phone. And Richard Hoagland was telling people, please go take a picture now before they change that sample if they haven't already. It won't be the same one that we saw under the electron microscope that they're showing. She said average person could show that this is technology. It's not just, and that's why they're sending those Ceres Rex, the satellite there. You know, that thing came back, it went somewhere else. And why aren't they sending that thing or something to this extra moon that's rolling with us right now for what, next 70 days or something?
I haven't seen that extra moon yet. Where's it at? I want to see it.
You know, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to spoil anything, but you know, I was really at a cross to give you if that a Target or Ceres.
Oh, dude, it's not too late. Look, I got next week and the week after that. We got plenty of time to do some shows on these things. So it'd be cool to get that target while it's still in orbit here. Okay. It would. And I do want to point out, J. Truth Seeker says there's an ancient crashed giant spaceship on the far side of the moon. I can't confirm that I do believe that does exist. And I'm not going to tell you how I know. I'm just going to tell you.
Well, let's just get down to it. I gave you a blind target that was the space Mona Lisa. I can't remember what data you got. And she was supposed to come from that craft he's talking about. And I always thought that was fake because I've seen this deal. There was these French guys making that whole thing. And it was a very elaborate deal they were setting up. And I'm just saying, but you can't find that. You can't find it anymore. What'd you say?
I cannot confirm that Mona Lisa lady is real. I can't confirm that. I don't know. But there's probably a ship there.
You remote viewed it.
I don't remember remote viewing.
We're not saying what you got. We did a show on it. It's on there somewhere. I'm sure we did a show on it.
I don't think we did a show on that.
Oh, you know that ain't real, man.
No.
Hey, the lady I used to do these shows with, she thought she was that lady, and she thought that was her ship. And it's communicating with her. It's calling onto her show, and you hear this thing going beep, 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 beep. It sounds like a fax machine, but she claimed it was that ship on the moon over there, and that's just reincarnated. The ship's trying to get back with her. And people are just eating that up. People in the chat and all these eating that stuff up. I'm just sitting there like, hey, okay, you got it. You know, well, whatever, man. I think I had to go have me a Michelob beer after that show.
Yeah, I don't know about the Mona Lisa lady on the ship. I don't know. If I remote viewed that for you, I don't remember, but I have remote viewed, let's just say separately, a long time ago, that ship. I do believe that ship does exist there for sure. And you know, but I'm not going to talk about it too much. Okay, but I do believe that does exist. Back there. Now, the woman inside of it, I don't know. I'm not sure of. But anyways, let's move on. Okay, because we're talking about the moon. We shouldn't be talking about the moon there very much. You know how I get? I'm already sweating over here. I'm sweating. Like, I'm literally sweating. I can't talk about it. I started talking about it and I was like, dang, I need to shut my mouth.
Let me ask you a question. How long are all you remote viewers going to be scared of the moon?
As long as I'm getting phone calls about it, that's how long.
A couple of y'all need to team up, 4 or 5 of y'all, and just reveal everything about it. What are they going to do? Take all of y'all out? That's not even realistic.
Probably.
I mean, I'm just saying. I want all y'all need to get together. The real remote viewers like you. Huh?
You can do it.
Well, you haven't taught me to remote view yet. You haven't taught me to remote view through your system, like you haven't You haven't taken a session with me yet to see if you have earthbounds attached. There's certain things that we have just not crossed yet, and I'm cool with that.
That's right.
You know, but I'll tell you this
There's
much: out of over 150 people I've done now, I've had 2 people that didn't have earthbounds attached to them, and one of them was I just didn't actually spend enough time, and the other one they ran before we started the session. I went back later, surprised, and boom, they were there. So I'm just saying. So I understand. A lot of people are uncomfortable with it.
Man.
We realize that people tell me, I did my shadow work, Barry. I don't have any of that stuff. And then we do a session. They got 4 or 5, 6 of them on them. They look at me. You know.
Yeah, we're dealing with some wonky stuff here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I talk about it. I talk about my moon stuff a little bit, but there's just some things, you know, I have a healthy dose of respect. I put out so much information, Barry. I mean, all my data is on my Patreon. If anybody wants to see it, you can go to my Patreon. I'm not hiding anything. Okay, there's no hiding anything.
I gotta say, it sounds like
I wouldn't talk about it.
Better than the moon. Sorry,
yeah, I wouldn't talk about it if, you know, if I really was that worried about it. I wouldn't talk about it at all. Okay, so
you know,
anyway.
you know, just demonic. I mean, Ceres doesn't sound like that's not paradise. That's not Fantasy Island. Definitely, you know what I mean? It's like all these.
I certainly would not want to make a trip there at all.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, this is for entertainment purposes only, too. So thank you, Sovereign. Yeah, like I said, what we're talking about here is pretty wonky stuff. It is, for whatever reason, there has been a long time kind of forced like cover up of a lot of this stuff. And I mean, I was watching a video last night of it was one of the astronauts that went on the moon, that landed on the moon, allegedly. And he was being confronted at a conference or something by a man who kept asking him to put his hand on the Bible and swear that he had landed on the moon, and he refused to do it
because it was a fake Bible. Did you hear what he said?
He said it was a fake Bible. Yeah, he did. He said that's a fake Bible. What do you think about that? You think it was really? Is that why? You don't have to answer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know either. I don't know either, but I will say this. I'm not a religious person, but when you start coming to certain things about that book, when you deal with the voices like Jerry Marinsky is, he says it's that what is it? Oh man. See, I don't know the script, but is it John 12 or something like that, where I walk with my staff in the valley of death, whichever one that is. When that is read to the voices or to a client, a schizophrenic that has that, the voices go ballistic. They hate it.
Really?
Yes. Jerry Marinsky talks about that a lot, and how he had actually patients in the prison actually reading that, and the voices start leaving or becoming much more silent, even more so than if they were giving drugs to repress them.
Whoa.
Yes, you see, I'm not a religious guy, so I can't quote all that. But whichever one, that.
Yeah.
That's what penetration is all about. Is Ingo Swann and the Moon. Penetration, the quest for human extraterrestrial telepathy. That's what that book is all about. Is about the moon. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to get the lowdown on the moon, go get that book. I've got it. Great book. Penetration. Yeah.
The other one, Richard Hoagland, it's called Dark Side of the Moon. Richard Hoagland. Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon, like Pink Floyd. But yeah, and he's done some other books too that's all about that, especially about the tower back there and other things. And I've measured that too with that field of energy that you saw when you looked at the dwarf planets. That actually is this device that the gurus said we incarnate through. They said we incarnated on the far side of the moon when we come to this planet, and that we go back to the moon when we're dreaming, to that machine, this device on the dark side of the moon, on the far side of the moon. So I automatically thought it was either this palace or more likely the tower that Richard Hoagland was talking about. And there's that other book too. Raymond Bernard, Someone Else is on the Moon. I saw that book when I was like in the 80s, and he's got those pictures of what look like those tractors and things all over the moon. Sorry,
Oh
you
my
weren't supposed
gosh.
to talk about that. So sorry.
Oh no. Okay. I wanted to bring this up. And then somebody earlier left a comment about the moon ringing like a bell. Okay, so ringing like a bell, we've got the moon ringing, and then we have Bravo Johnny says the moon is rusting. What do you know about that, Barry? What's up with the moon ringing? Do you
I don't
think
know
it's
about it
hollow?
rusting, but they did an experiment that shows it's ringing from its core. And when you get somebody like, here's his name again, Corey Good. We talked about the moon too.
Mm-hmm.
He told me he'd been to the moon, and he said that there were these catacombs that all go down to the core, and at the core is this type of artificial intelligence that is actually recording everything on Earth. Now, I've heard that in other places,
Yeah.
that everything on the moon is recorded on Earth by this device, that he could have gotten it from that. It's in comedic knowledge too, when they say there were two moons here, which I always paid attention to because I have past life memories. I see two moons on this planet. I wonder why, what happened to the other one. It was a cataclysm. But anyway, just that's what he had said. And this dang thing is this device. Now, on that video I did with John Vivinco, that's on my channel, go to interviews. I'm sitting there with him and a demon. But we're talking about I got him to talk about the moon. He talked about people came. He said somebody came to his crib when he had his team view it. He got a knock on his door for real. He said,
Yeah.
and they told him don't do it anymore. But then I got him to talk about what he saw, what they saw. He said that, and he was confirming what Corey Good said. He even says that on a video. He said it's actually what we saw is what Corey told you. Like, really? That's on that video.
Mhm.
Just saying.
I mean, you see, even he's not. I mean, he got a visit. I mean, yeah, it's just not worth it. Honestly, it's just not worth it. It's not. It's like it is what it is. I mean, I put out as much information as I can, and I don't hide anything. Okay, but I'm not trying to die and get my life threatened and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not worth it. I do this for fun, Barry. I'm not doing this because I have to.
Hey,
Okay.
that's why I like working with you. You're doing it for fun. And you told
It's,
me that when I first met you, and that's why I told you to watch some of the scoundrels in this field because they won't be fun anymore. They'll make it
well,
unfun. We
yeah,
could be unalived or unfun real quick.
yeah. Well, there's a lot.
Um,
Listen, okay, what I'm learning, there's a lot of people who I think could be like planted in here and stuff to like make it not fun for us.
yes,
And so
yes,
I'm and
100% agree.
so when I make the announcement that I'm going to do it until it's not fun anymore, I started getting a lot of not fun moments. Okay, and it's been a challenge. Okay, to keep these things fun.
Well,
I'm
I'm
just
here
saying.
to try to keep it fun for you
Okay, thank you. Because it
with my
does.
corny,
There are
my
people
corny
that
jokes.
yeah. Well, there are just a whole lot of and I appreciate that. I do. But there have been a lot of obstacles put in my way since I started doing this, and it's not obstacles like physical. Yeah, it's physical because it's people sometimes.
Many times.
I don't talk about it very much because it gives it power, and I understand it's just the matrix. You know what I mean? We're just living in the matrix,
Well, you know
and
how we did it back. You know we did it back in the '80s and the '90s too.
yeah.
Hey, check this out. I want to throw this out, okay? Because spirits want me to kind of say it, so I'm just gonna throw this out. Concerning the missing 411 and some of the data you got, there was something. Oh gosh, somebody out there's gonna know what I'm talking about. In one of the original Star Trek series, there's an episode where Kirk and Scotty and Uhura get beamed to another universe. And in that other universe, it's like completely corrupted. The Federation is like the Klingons, they're horrible, and Spock's over there, he's a crook, and all this thing is like that. But Kirk was in control of that ship because he had this device that they have brought back in the new Star Treks now that's called a Tetris field. And what the Tetris field did is, you see it, first of all, it looks so 60s, it looked ridiculous. But when they push the little jelly-looking buttons, it makes people just disappear. This little light, boom, and they're just gone. So Kirk got command by using this device to assassinate everybody in front of him. But they just disappeared. Everybody, Spock said that, I won't just disappear like your other people. But in the newer Star Trek, I just saw this, they wrote the Tetris machine back into it. And what they have, instead of just being like they disappeared into oblivion, they're actually transported to like a prison planet, way
Really?
away.
Uh-oh.
And just the
Ew.
way some of the
Is that
people
our
have
planet?
disappeared, the way you describe it, and how they got even on when you talked about the submarine passages and how they actually got onto the submarine, you almost are describing that type of a Tetris
Oh my
field.
God, that was in that data, wasn't it? Submarines?
Yeah, and
That's
the
so
passages. I
weird.
mean, yeah.
Okay,
And
and then
that had us looking up. Oh, sorry.
oh no, because I was just making this made this connection because I talked about I had remote viewed the Pyramid Lake mermaids and the water babies, the Pyramid Lake. The remote viewing target was like Pyramid Lake. Okay. And I think that's in Nevada. And I was actually like, I don't know if it was in the data or in the research we were doing, but there's like canals that run between underneath the lake. It's like it's like a canal system, some kind of system that goes from that lake to Lake Tahoe. And like bodies were washing up, like people would drown, they'd end up at Lake Tahoe. Or Lake Tahoe would end up at Lake Pyramid. The bodies would end up there if somebody drowned. And there's like some kind of submarine system. Okay, like there's some kind of submarine system involved in that. Okay, I don't remember what it was. There's a submarine base in Nevada. In Nevada. That's nowhere near the ocean. Okay, that's what it is. There's a submarine base there. Why would there be a submarine base in the desert? All right. Oh God. All this stuff is so connected, man. It's so connected. And then we bring it into the missing 411 clusters, and they're at national parks. And we've got this like submarine base in the middle of the freaking desert. And if they're taking people by that, I mean, good grief.
You know, and you got that on the water deaths coordinates.
Yeah.
Remember?
Who would ever even think of that? Like nobody would even ever suspect that submarines are being used in our national parks in the middle of the country. Right? I don't know. It's all for entertainment purposes.
Earth goat tress. Loving laughter, loving joking does sometimes make them go away. But let me let you know, that doesn't always work, okay? If you get one of the ones like they call flyers or jumpers that are the bigger shadows, not just the little flitting ones, they don't always leave like that. Okay, I mean that's one way that works, but sometimes we need additional protections too. Don't just think a couple of jokes are going to just automatically be gone. Just some of those, when you start getting ones like the flyers, they're much more resistant to our protections and to things that would get others away if you don't really know how to intent your will. Very intense, you know. Hopefully none of us encounters those. But, you know, the first time I became really aware of that, somebody who was older than me that studied and had much knowledge, they had me come over. And I was much younger then, and he had me over to actually engage in this Afghan type thing they had. That's all I'll say. But when we do it, they turn the light. We're like in this room, and they completely turn the lights off.
Okay.
And I mean, it's pitch black in there, except for what we might be using, and just lighting up a little bit. But otherwise, it's totally black in there. And you know, it didn't take long at all after the practices I've been doing. I started seeing these shadows out of my peripheral, which is in black and white. And this is in darkness. And to be quite honest, it was terrible. It was horrible. They didn't assault me or do anything, but they're all over the place. And you know, the cat's telling me, you turn the light back on, turn it back off. So you're really not seeing yet. You're not really seeing them fully. You're only still seeing out of your peripheral. And when you turn the light off the next time, I started seeing the bigger ones in there. And he's saying, you know, they're around us all the time. They're all over the place. It's some of those that are the voices. It's some of them that are eating our luminous cocoon. You know, we're really in a predatorial plane. This universe is predatorial. Well, look at the natural ecosystems of Earth. They're very predatorial. And it's a little foolish for us to think that the universe isn't the same. The universe is predatorial. And you have beings out there that consume awareness, consume a luminosity. And they're the ones that run this planet. They run this planet. Yeah. They do everything. That's why this place is all messed up like that. Why people aren't magical. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, not everybody's not magical. Not everybody. But speaking of magical, let's call this a magical evening because I got to go check out that moon tonight before it gets too late, and I got to go walk my dog. Okay. This has been a fantastic show, Barry. Oh my God, we've gone all over the place, but this has been wonderful. We have really looked into Ceres, right? Tonight. I know.
You did really good, Jessica. You did really good.
Thank you. That was a great target. So I just wanted to thank you for giving me such a cool target today. Well, you gave it to me a couple days ago. And
no, I
I'm glad we got to talk about
too. I've been too excited tonight. I've interrupted you like 20 times, so I apologize for that. I've been way too excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We got to the good stuff. We got to all the data tonight. We actually got to show the audience a picture, all these different pictures of the lights on this dwarf planet. I mean, this is just fantastic. This is not something you see every day. It's not talked about enough. And I know this came out in 2015, and so it's been a little while, but it's still important. It's more important now than it's ever been, in my opinion. Us talking about this, I think this does back up our friend Tony Rodriguez encounter that he does document in his book. If you guys, y'all go support Tony, and this is the book, Ceres Colony Cavalier. Barry, you and I have both seen him live in person, giving his presentation. It's fantastic, and he has quite the story. And I think that this data backs up his encounter and some of the other guys that we know, like Daryl James and James Rink, in some of their encounters off planet as well. So. Great job, Barry. Great job.
Hey,
I love doing these.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, one of your audience asked me too. They said, Barry did an interview, did a show with Tony. Where is it? It's not on my channel. It was on his Patreon only. I asked if I get a copy. He said that it got erased or lost somehow. So nobody's probably ever heard it much. But it was a good one.
Okay.
Only thing that's maybe referenced is check out the Insectoid Part 2 video on my YouTube channel. That was a result of that interview I did with him.
Yeah. I've also been on Tony's show a long time ago. Yeah. Well,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was on his members only thing, I think. But speaking of members only, tell the audience about your YouTube channel and your Patreon. You have a wonderful Patreon.
My Patreon is still up. I thought I was going to probably cancel it this month, but I've still got it up. There's still several videos on there I've never made public. But the main thing will probably be YouTube right now. Please check me out on YouTube. If you subscribe, push the bell, and also please check out the playlist. So much stuff will come up on the playlist you won't see otherwise. There's probably like almost 400 videos on there. So thank you for that. And for the people that have come over, I'm getting more and more subscribers from these interviews and stuff I'm doing. And it's cool. That channel's been there a long time and people are starting to discover it. So thank you and much love to everybody.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, you have go ahead. What is it? Did you forget something?
My email, barrylittleton13@gmail.com for people that want to have sessions or something. I'm starting to get more of those. So that you can shoot me an email and I'll hit you back within a day.
That's Barry's email, y'all. barrylittleton13@gmail.com. Okay. Great. So shoot Barry an email, y'all. Show some love and go subscribe over to Barry Littleton on YouTube and Patreon. And I want to thank all of my Patreon members. You guys are the best. My moderators have been just killing it tonight in the chat. Y'all are awesome. I couldn't ask for better moderators and live chat. We have the best live chat on the internet. I am hands down. I stand behind that. We do have the best live chat. So thank you guys so much for all your support in every avenue. Thank you for all the super stickers tonight and just all the comments. Y'all are the best. So yeah, Barry, we got more work to do. I need some more targets, I guess. And yeah, let's go enjoy that moon tonight, everybody. Okay, it's a beautiful night. So y'all stay safe out there. Barry said there's predators out there tonight too, right, Barry? So y'all don't enjoy it too long. Keep your head on a swivel. Get inside, lock the doors. Okay. Enjoy it from your window. But otherwise, everybody have a great night. I'm going to be back on Saturday. I have my friend Greg Smith coming in. He's from Backwoods Cryptids up in North Georgia, and he's my buddy. We're going to be talking about Dogman, Bigfoot, and Old Green Eyes. He's a boots on the ground green eyes researcher up there. So should be a great show.
Green eyes. You love
green eyes. Barry's favorite. Barry's favorite. All right. Okay. Well, y'all have a great night. I love everybody, and keep your head on a swivel. Stay safe out there. And I'll see y'all back here on Saturday. Happy full moon, everybody. All right. Bye, y'all.